Hello everybody and welcome to round 5 of the 2022 GP4 World ChampCar Offline Championship. We are here at the popular Silverstone circuit in the United Kingdom for a dry qualifying session for round 5 of the championship. I am JW97 and I'm joined today by Dennis Graff.
Yeah, good afternoon everybody. It's great to be here. Of course, it's my first time this season that I'm commentating for World ChampCar. So it's exciting.
Yep, indeed, and hopefully we'll be in for an exciting qualifying and race here. World ChampCar, of course, coming off the back of a very exciting race at Interlagos just a few weeks ago. As the first car on track will, of course, be Marat Patricek in the McLaren, who, of course, retired last time out at Interlagos, 2 races in a row that the Czech driver has retired from. So we have to rewind back, of course, to 3 weeks ago, I think, to the last World Champ Car race, which of course took place at Interlagos, and it saw Gabriel Gomez in front of his adoring fans take a very dominant win in very changeable conditions, it's fair to say.
Yeah, it was very chaotic in terms of the weather, but Gomez absolutely delivered. Home crowd, took a memorable win at home.
He did indeed, and it does mean as a result he's now put himself right in the title fight. He did, of course, also end the Penske's run of victories, which they had at the beginning of the season. They had 3 wins in a row in the first 3 races, but for Gabriel Gomez, he put that to an end at his home race at Interlagos a few weeks ago. Will Penske get back to winning ways here at Silverstone? It will remain to be seen, as who knows really. Could Andretti make it back-to-back wins, of course, around here? Of course, let's not forget, it was, of course, Florian Volker that took pole position at Interlagos, I believe, a few weeks ago, and but it didn't really go according to plan for him there. So yeah, that's that really, as he'll be looking to bounce back after he also crashed out at Interlagos a few weeks ago, in similar fashion to how he crashed out during the 2017 Brazilian Grand Prix when he was driving for Ferrari. It was a little bit ironic, that. But anyway, Marat Patricek in the McLaren. He's going to be the first to set a lap time as he comes around the double right-hander of Club now then. So into the final turn he goes, as Patricek will now start his lap in the McLaren as he starts his lap now then. As next up on track will be Jared Fosbury in the Chip Ganassi racing car. Patricek through the first couple of corners. He will go now then as Patricek makes his way towards turn number 3, flicking the car in through the right-hander before making his way towards turns 4 and 5. As now heading his way towards Aintree Corner now then, before making his way onto the Wellington Straight and heading towards the end of the first sector now then. The first sector time going to be a 27.203 there for the Czech driver, as he now makes his way through into Brooklands Corner, now through into Luffield. He will go. Of course, and not forget, we've only just recently had the top class around here as well, so kind of ironic really that it's now World ChampCar's turn to race around this famous circuit, as now Patricek making his way towards Copse Corner now then, as he uses all the curb on the inside as possible to make sure that the car doesn't understeer off into the AstroTurf. There's Patricek now then through Maggots and Beckett's, as now heading towards the second part of Beckett's now then he will go, as now he will approach Chapel, and let's see what his second sector is going to look like, and it's a 105.986 for the McLaren driver, as now he'll make his way towards Stowe Corner now then. So through into Stowe now then, around the long swooping right-hander he will go, as now making his way down towards Vale and Club Corner now then he'll go. So through Vale, and now into the double right-hander of Club we will go, as now Patricek comes out of the turn, making his way around the final corner and onto the pit straight now then he will go, as Patricek crosses the line, and he does a 1:33.480. So that is the benchmarker time to beat for him at this stage, but whatever that will mean, we just do not know at this stage, Dennis.
Yeah, of course. But as we see, his first lap was clean, was solid. I don't think it would be a too bad position, but that cannot be said about this guy, the Fosbury era.
Yep, Jared Fosbury, who of course also retired last time out at Interlagos, a race he'll want to forget pretty quickly, as he's about to start his flying lap here at Silverstone. Whether he can beat the McLaren, I'm not sure, because the Chip Ganassis this season have definitely been struggling ever since they swapped to Mercedes power. As next up on track will be Damian Milewski in the Manor car, who will be next up on track, as now Fosbury making his way towards turn 3 now then, which I think is called Shannon if I'm not mistaken. Then into turn 4, And now in towards turn 5 of Aintree before making his way towards the end of the first sector. And we'll see what his lap time is like compared to Marit Patacek now. Then Fosbury approaching the end of the first sector. What's his first sector time going to look like? And he's 2 tenths down on Patacek in that first sector. Kind of expected, really. I think the McLaren is definitely a better car than the Chip Ganassi from what we've seen so far this season. As Fosbury now then comes around Lovefield Corner before making his way towards Woodcote now then. And now around the right-hander then goes Jared Fosbury in the Chip Ganassi racing cars. He'll now make his way towards Copse Corner now then. And near enough flat out around that part of the track before making his way towards Maggots and Beckett's. As now we'll see pretty soon what his second sector is going to look like. The second sector, pretty lengthy, so to say, as the second sector point is just after Chapel, of course. Now, Fosbury approaching Chapel now then. Let's see what his second sector looks like. And he's 4 tenths down on Patacek. So unless he has some kind of miracle in the last sector, I'm not expecting him to beat the Czech driver now then. As now Jared Fosbury making his way towards Stoke Corner now then, flinging it through the right-hander. Obviously, we have seen some action there in the past few seasons as well, in both the top class, World Champ Car F2, and of course DTM as well. There's been a lot of action at that part of the track, whether that's overtakes or even collisions, especially the collision we saw with Wilson and Martins last week in the top class. Fosbury, meanwhile, across the line, goes 6 tenths slower and slots into second place there. So that's that for him. As we now look at Dorian Milewski in the Manor, and it's fair to say so far this season, Dennis, even though they haven't showed it in the races, the Manors and the Vipers do seem to have very good qualifying pace.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't seen that qualifying sessions much, so I cannot really say much about that. But yeah, so far, I would say, yeah, it's, I think, better than last season. Let's say it like this.
Obviously, in terms of qualifying pace, I think it's better. The race pace, I think they still, both the Manors and the Vipers still need to work on. But it seems that they're taking a step ahead of Meyershank, who seem to have gone a bit backwards this season, it's fair to say. But anyway, Dorian Milewski is about to start his lap now then, as he now crosses the line to start that flying lap, as his teammate, Gillum Stop, will be next up on the rest tap, or Gillum Stop, I should say, as now Dorian Milewski now they're making his way into turn 3 now then, as he'll now make his way through turns 4 and 5 very soon. The Polish driver having a, it's fair to say, Manor compared to Viper this season have not exactly had the best of luck when it comes to races. I think Viper so far this season have had a better season compared to them so far, as Milewski comes towards the end of the first sector. He's 5 tenths slower in that first sector, so definitely 3 tenths off of Jared Fosbury at the moment. So unless he can find some time in the middle sector, then I'm expecting him to slot behind the Chip Ganassi driver and his fellow Mercedes-powered driver. As now Milewski now then through into Woodcote now then. You can use a bit of curb on the inside there as possible. Just don't run into those bollards because that will affect you there. Then through into Copse Corner now. Then through the right-hander he goes as he uses a bit of curb on the outside before making his way towards Maggots and Beckett's now. Then through the left, then the right, and then into the left and right-hander will go the Polish driver now then. As now coming around into Chapel Corner now then, as he'll now make his way towards the end of the second sector. He's 1.4 seconds off, so yeah, way off both Patacek and Fosbury, it's fair to say. I think he's even a second off of Fosbury in that middle sector. Milewski now then through into the long swooping right-hander, as now he will approach Vale and into the double right-hander of Club he'll soon approach. So through the left-hander, then into the double right-hander he will go now then, as Milewski now then makes his way into the final corner and onto the pit straight now then will go the Polish driver, as he goes into third position, 2.3 seconds off. Considering the pace that we've seen from the Manors in qualifying the previous weeks, not really a good time there. In fact, he even finds himself 1.7 seconds off, which is a little bit disappointing. We'll see if that's the same case for his teammate though, Gillum Stop, who's now making his way towards Stoke Corner. And we'll see if that's going to be a similar case for him as well, as he now makes his way down towards Vale and the double right-hander of Club very soon now. Then flicks it in through that left-hander, then into the first part of Club, and then into the second part. He will soon approach now then. Through into the final corner now, then he goes. He now makes his way onto the pit straight, as he'll now make his way towards the first few turns. So the next up on track will be 5-time top class champion Florian Volker in the Andretti. He'll be next up on the track in the green Andretti Autosport car. Stop through into turn 3 he goes, going around the sausage curve there that's on the inside of turn 3, and even into turn 4 as well, as now Stop making his way now then through into the Aintree corner. Let's see what his first sector time is like compared to his teammate. Of course, I'm not expecting him to beat Patacek, but let's see compared to his teammate now then, and he's 4 tenths off in the first first sector. So he is actually up on his teammate, I think, by 10th in the first sector. But whether he's going to end up being the same sort of pace compared to Fosbury, and that he's going to be way off like his teammate Malevsky, we'll have to wait and see. Because he's, as you can see, 1.7 seconds off of Fosbury in the end. Stop now then, approaching Copse Corner. Near flat out through there, although because of how heavy these cars are, I expect a little bit more of a lift than what the top class drivers do around that part of the track. Through into Maggots and then into Beckett's Corner now then. We will go, as he'll now come around this right-hander and then into Chapel. We'll go the Frenchman now then. Let's see what his middle sector looks like. He's 1.1 seconds off. So, yep, he is 3/10 up on Malevsky there because Malevsky was, of course, 1.4 seconds off in that middle sector. Stop now then towards Stoke Corner as he goes around the long swooping right-hander now then he goes. As now he'll make his way down towards Vale and the double right-hander of Club Corner now then. To the left. Then into the right he goes. He should be able to beat Malevsky unless he somehow makes a mistake in these final few turns. But stop now then. Onto the pit straight and across the line. He will go and he goes into third position. 1.9 seconds off. So even he's 1.3 seconds off of Jared Fosbury. So the man is a bit behind Fosbury at the moment, it's fair to say. As we now look at Florian Volker in the Andretti car. Who, it's fair to say so far this season, Dennis, has had quite a lot of bad luck.
Yep, indeed. Especially last time out at Interlagos. Where he crashed out, but also for the rest of the standings compared to his teammate, obviously it's not that much good, to be honest.
Yeah, indeed, and Volker looking to bounce back here at Silverstone. Next up on track will be Zachary Fitzwater in the Penske, another man who retired last time out at Interlagos. The first mechanical problem we've seen from Penske all season, it's fair to say. As now Volker now then just comes out of turn 4 there. And then into turn 5, I am expecting him to be up on Patacek, given he is in a much better car than the McLaren. But let's see. Volker now then, approaching the end of the first sector compared to Patacek. Let's see. And he's 1/10 up in the first sector. So purple first sector there for Florian Volker, as he'll now make his way towards Luffield now then. And through the long swooping right-hander, he will go as he now comes out of the turn and making his way towards Woodcote Corner now then. The number 31 Andretti now making his way down the support pit straight towards the... towards Copse Corner now then, using the curb on the inside now then, using a bit of curb on the outside before making his way towards Maggots and Beckett's now then, flicking it in through the left, then the right, and then into the left and right-hander. We'll go Florian Volker in the Andretti now then. Let's see what his middle sector is going to look like compared to Patacek now then. Approaching the end of the middle sector and he's 3/10 up, so unless he makes a mistake in this last sector, I am fully expecting Volker to get to the top of the timing sheets here. Up towards Stoke Corner now then he goes as he flicks it in through the long swooping right-hander now then we go. As now he makes his way down towards Vale and the double right-hander of Club now then. So through the left, then into the double right-hander he goes, coming off the turn, and now into the final corner comes Florian Volker in the Andretti now then as he makes his way onto the pit straight, and Volker across the line, and he goes 7/10 clear at the top of 1:32.738. He breaks into the 1:32s, and pretty good time there for Florian Volker, but whether that's going to be enough to challenge for pole position, we shall wait and see. I guess we've got the first comparison here in the form of Zachary Fitzwater. Safe to say this season, Dennis, the Penskes have had a very strong start to the season, getting the first 3 victories of the season. Of course, their streak ended last time out in Interlagos, but yeah, I think like in real life, Penske have been seen as the villains in terms of the OC community. I think Dennis might have actually disconnected there, so I'll have to ask that question in a little bit because I just heard that his Discord kind of went off there. Anyway, Fitzwater has started a lap as Yuri Kratichville has just started a lap now then. Hopefully Dennis will be back very soon. He's just had a little bit of an issue there. Kratichville into turn 3 now then. He will go. And now into turn 4 will go the Australian drivers. He comes out of the turn, making his way towards turn 5 now then. On the racetrack now then, as Fitzwater now then comes down the Wellington straight now then. Let's see what his first sector is like compared to Volker. He's 56 thousandths off in that first sector there. As now he makes his way into Luffield Corner now. Then we go through the right-hander. Goes the Australian driver. Now coming off the turn. And now making his way towards Woodcote now then. Before making his way towards Copse Corner now then. As now Fitzwater now then through to Copse we go. and we'll see what his middle sector is like very soon. Remember, it was only 56 thousandths off of Volker in that first sector there. So through into Maggots we go, and now into Beckett's goes the Aussie now then. Who, of course, won the first race, of course, of the season at Indianapolis. Still determined to get a second victory of the season. Fitzwater's middle sector compared to Volker, 1/10 down in that middle sector. So Volker has the upper hand on Fitzwater at this point in time. As Fitzwater now then making his way down the hanger straight now then. Around the long right-hander of Stowe Corner he will go before making his way down towards Vale and Club Corner very, very soon now then. So now through the left and then into the double right-hander of Club now then. Will go Zachary Fitzwater in the Penske now then. As onto the straight as he now crosses the line and he goes into second place, 1/10 off. As I think Dennis is now back, because I think I just heard. Come on there. You are back. It looked like he had connection issues there. I was just saying, whilst we watched Cratchittville on the track, I was just saying before you had your connection issues, that so far Penske have had a very strong start to the season, winning the first 3 races. Of course, the streak ending with Andretti, but it's been safe to say within the community, they've been the most unpopular team when it comes to their dominance, like they are in real life.
I wasn't noticing that much of that, to be honest. But yeah. Let's not see Cratchittville's lap.
Cratchittville on the lap now then. Rosetta Martinez in the Meyershank racing car will be next up onto the track as Yuri Cratchittville makes his way into turns 4 and 5 now then in the Viper. It'll be curious to see what the Viper's pace is like, because it seems the Manners look to be off the pace a little bit, down in 5th and 6th position. Let's see what Cratchittville's first sector is like compared to in the first sector. He's 6 tenths down on Volker in that first sector. Now Volker was of course 1/10 up on Patacek, so that's roughly around 5 tenths that he's down on Patacek there. So that's roughly the same sort of pace as what Milevski was showing in that first sector. So far it looks like Cratchittville on a similar sort of pace to what Dorian Milevski is at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see on that one now then, as the Czech driver makes his way towards Maggots and Beckett's now then, through the right and then into the left and right-hander. He will go, as now he flicks the car in for this right-hander, now into Chapel Corner now then goes Cratchittville, and he is 1.8 seconds off in that middle sector. So yeah, he seems a bit off the pace. I think he's going to be roughly in between the 2 Manners here at this point in time. Maybe he could even slip behind Milevski. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, Cratchittville now, they're making his way down towards Vale Corner now then, as he goes around the left and double right-hander now then. He will go. Now coming out of the final corner will come Yuri Cratchittville in the Viper. Where is he going to place himself? Down the pit straight and across the line he goes. And he goes into 6th position. And only just ahead of Milevski. So it seems that the Vipers and the Manners seem to be off the pace here. But we'll see what that's like compared to the Meyershanks. So looking at the team's championship, Dennis, they've really not had a very good season. It does appear that Meyershank have got a little bit worse than what they had compared to last season.
Unfortunately, they have. But yeah, this was, let's say, I would not say not expected, but yeah, it's a bit weird that they have been a bit worse. But now let's see what Martinez can do in his lap.
Indeed, of course, Meyershank are powered by Honda, of course, so that might help him down the straights, but we'll have to wait and see, because so far Meyershank have been struggling compared to the Manners and the Vipers. They've been mainly in the mix with them, and at times have not been able to beat all 4 of them. Let's see what Martinez's first sector is like compared to Volker. He's 6 tenths off in the first sector, so that's roughly I would say around the same sort of pace as what Cratchittville did in the first sector there. So, yeah, it looks like Martinez looks like he's getting into the mix of the Manners and the Vipers once again in that first sector. As the Filipino now then makes his way out of Woodcote now then, before making his way towards Copse Corner now then, as he flicks it in through the right-hander using the curb on the inside. As so far we haven't seen any mistakes from the drivers so far during this qualifying session. Martinez through Maggots and then into Beckett's now then. He will go, flicks it in for the left and then into the right-hander. He will go now then. And now through into Chapel Corner now then. He goes as he's 1.6 seconds off in the middle sector, but he's 2 tenths up on Cratchittville, so he's definitely quicker than him in that middle sector, because Cratchittville was 1.8 seconds off in that middle sector, so I think he'll get ahead of Cratchittville and Milevski. Whether he can get ahead of Stopp is another question here. So Martinez now then, making his way into Vale and Club now then, through the left, and then into the double right-hander now, then he will go. Now into the final corner comes Rosetta Martinez in the Meyershank racing car, onto the pit straight and across the line goes with Lazetta Martinez, and he goes into 6th position. He gets in between Stop and Cratchittville there, and he's just over a 10th behind the Frenchman there. Here is Simon Mutka in the Peugeot now. Then Peugeot, of course, looked to have taken a step up compared to this season, although it's safe to say in Mutka's first season with Peugeot, he has been outpaced this season so far by Alex-Eric Lucien, who is obviously in his second season with Peugeot.
Yep, indeed. Yeah. Not what to say, to be honest.
Yep, as now Mutka now then making his way down the hangar straight up towards Stowe Corner now then, and I should expect him to maybe compete with the likes of Patacek, but we will wait and see. So
He should be ahead of Fosbury.
Yes, at the very least, I think, because I think the Peugeot is definitely a better car than the Chip Ganassi this season. If not, then there's clearly something wrong, unless he's made a mistake somewhere out on the racetrack. But Mutka starts his lap. Now then, next up on track will be Yuri Gabriel in the Meyershank racing car, the second Meyershank racing car, it should point out, although I think he wants to change his name next season to Yuri Pavin, if I'm not mistaken. But we shall wait and see, as now Mutka now then makes his way through into turns 4 and 5 now then. We will go as the Polish driver comes out of Aintree there, making his way down the Wellington Straight. Let's see what his first sector is like compared to Florian Volker. The Polish driver now then 4 tenths down in the first sector there, so obviously quicker than the backmarker teams. But 4 tenths off Volker at this stage now then, as Mutka makes his way through Luffield Corner now then. Coming off the turn before making his way around Woodcote now then. As he goes up the gears and up, and the speed keeps climbing now then as he approaches Copse Corner now then. He approached that at exactly 300 kilometers an hour there. Coming out of Copse now then will go the Polish driver, now heading his way into Maggots and Beckett's now then. He goes for the left, then the right, then into the left and right-hander now then. He will go. Now through the right-hander goes Mutka as he now makes his way through Chapel. Let's see what his second sector looks like, 9 tenths off in the middle sector. So in fact he's down on Patacek, in fact, because Patacek is overall 7 tenths behind Volker. Can he still beat Fosbury though? We'll have to wait and see. Mutka now then comes out of Stowe Corner now then, heading down towards Vale and the double right-hander of Club. He'll soon approach now then, flicking it in for the left, then into the first part of Club, and then into the second part will go Simon Mutka in the Peugeot now then. Coming off the turn, making his way onto the pit straight, and Mutka crosses the line and he goes into 5th position behind Fosbury, so a couple of hundreds off there. So yeah, a bit surprising that he's behind Fosbury at the moment.
Yeah, on the other hand, that shows that Fosbury did, I would say, some kind of a decent lap in his car. Then now we have Yuri Gabriel.
Yep, and it'll be interesting to see where he is compared to teammate Martinez, who's a 10th behind Stop in this qualifying session, and in front of both Cratchittville and Malevsky. But anyway, Yuri Gabriel now then, the former Viper driver, I believe he was, is just coming out of the corner as he now makes his way onto the pit straight to start his lap. Next up on track will be Luke Mason in the second Viper car. Obviously, Yuri Cratchittville's teammates, so both the Vipers and both the Manners would have completed their laps very soon, along with the 2 Meyershank racing cars. Gabriel then into turn 4 he goes, and he flicks it in through the left-hander, and then into turn 5 of Aintree goes the Brazilian driver, heading his way out of the corner onto the Wellington Straight. Let's see what his first sector looks like compared to Florian Volker now then, and he's 3 tenths off in the first sector. That's actually a pretty decent first sector for Gabriel, considering that Mutka was actually 4 tenths off in the first sector. That's a pretty good first sector there for Yuri Gabriel. Let's see if he can keep this one up then, and see where he can end up then if he can keep this up. So Gabriel then coming out of Woodcote as he now makes his way into Copse Corner now, then he goes, flicking it in through the right-hander, using the curb on the inside, a bit of it on the outside as well, as he'll now make his way towards Maggots and Beckett's. He approaches that at 308 kilometers an hour, and there it just climbed up to there, as now Gabriel now through out of Beckett's and then into Chapel. He'll go. Let's see what his middle sector looks like now then. And he's 9 tenths off in the middle sector. So that's roughly the same as Mutka's time in the middle sector. So Gabriel looking at a pretty decent time here at the moment. Maybe could even split between Fosbury and Mutka, or even just get ahead of them. We'll have to wait and see how this one fares. But Gabriel now then heading down towards Vale and Club now. Then he'll go. Flicks it in through the left and then into the double right-hander he goes now then. Coming off the turn and then into the final corner goes Yuri Gabriel in the Meyershank racing car onto the pit straight, and across the line he will go, and he goes into 6th position. Just in fact loses time in the last sector and goes into 6th position, but he's got a gap to stop in the end. But yeah, that was a pretty impressive first sector there for Yuri Gabriel, even though he seemed to lose all that time in the last 2 sectors.
Yep, indeed. Also, what I've noticed is that Gabriel had quite a decent top speed, I think, before Maggot, he had around 307, or as he said, 308 kilometers an hour, which is very fast.
Yep, indeed, as now Luke Mason is going to start his lap in the second Viper car. His teammate Cratchittville currently in 9th position now then. But let's see what the green and black Viper car can do of Luke Mason as he now starts his lap. Next up on track will be Luca Farina in the second Chip Ganassi racing car. Be interested to see what his pace is like compared to teammate Fosbury. As now Luke Mason makes his way into turn 3 now then. Flicks it in for the right-hander. And then into turns 4 and 5. We will soon go now then. Coming off the turn and now into turn 5 goes Mason as he'll now approach the end of the first sector pretty soon now then. Mason approaching the end of the first sector very soon, and his first sector time is 4 tenths off in the first sector, which is roughly the same as Mutka's first sector, but we'll wait and see if Mason ends up losing time in these last 2 sectors or not as he comes out of left field corner now then, making his way through Woodcote as he'll now come towards Copse Corner now that he'll soon approach here at Silverstone, and he approaches that at 304 kilometers an hour there. So he went around about 4 kilometers faster there than what who was it? I think it was who was it? I think it might have been Muka, in fact. I think Muka had a very low top speed approaching a Copse Corner there, so a bit interesting there. As Muka now, as Mason, makes his way towards the end of the second sector, but he's 1.1 seconds off, so yeah, he seems to have lost a little bit in that middle sector, but we'll see where the Brit is going to end up now then. Obviously, it is his home race, so we're looking to do well here, as now heading down towards Vale and Club Corner now then. We'll go Luke Mason in the Viper now then, flicks it in for the left, and then into the double right-hander. He will now go through the first part, and then into the second part now then he goes, as he'll now make his way down the pit straight, and across the line goes Luke Mason, and he goes into 6th position. In fact, he found some time in the last sector to get himself in front of Yuri Gabriel there. So in the end, a very decent lap from Luke Mason, despite the first couple of sectors not going well for him.
Yeah, that was a great lap for Mason indeed. He has beaten both Meyer Shanks, his teammate, and both Manners, which is very impressive.
Yep, and who knows really, maybe the home advantage, who knows. But anyway, as Luca Farina now then in the Chip Ganassi racing car is now going to start his lap now then. His teammate Fosbury in 4th position, just 22 thousandths quicker than Simon Mutka. Farina starts his lap. Next up will be Frederick Soper in the first of the 2 Carling cars. So Farina now then out of turn 2 before making his way into turns 3, 4 and 5. He'll soon approach now then, as we're now into the second half of the cars who are taking part in this session. Through the left-hander he goes, as he'll now make his way towards turn 5 now then on the racetrack, heading his way down the Wellington Straight. Let's see what his first sector is going to look like now then. And he's 5 tenths off in the first sector compared to Volker. That is actually down on both Mason and Gabriel in that first sector there. So we'll see if he's able to try and regather that in the last 2 sectors or not. But Farina now then comes out of Luffield Corner now then, as he'll now come around Woodcote before making his way towards Copse Corner now then. He'll soon approach, as now the gold and black Chip Ganassi car comes around the Copse Corner now then. And now heading his way towards Maggots and Beckett's now then, through the left, through the right, then into the left and right he will go now then. And we'll see what his middle sector looks like compared to Volker now then. The Italian comes around Chapo now then. His middle sector, 1.5 seconds off. That is looking like a very poor time for Luca Farina at this stage now then, considering that Mason was 1.1 seconds off in that middle sector. Farina 4 tenths off, and to make it even worse, he's made a mistake through to Stoke Corner there. He's had a bit of understeer, so that's going to cost him even more time, and this is looking to be a very poor lap from the Italian here. Farina through into Vale, and then into the double right-hander of Club now then he goes, as Farina now then comes around the final corner, and onto the pit straight now then he goes, as Farina crosses the line, and he goes into 10th place. A very, very disappointing lap there for Farina, and, well, he's only ahead of 2 cars.
Yeah. That is poor effort, to be honest. He's 1.5 seconds slower than his teammate Fosbury. Yeah, he has to pick it up in the race.
Indeed, as Frederick Soper now then is about to start his lap soon in the first of the 2 Carling cars, as now Soper makes his way down towards Vale and Club Corner. He'll soon approach, flicking it in through the left and then into the double right-hander now then he goes, as he'll now approach the second part of Club Corner very soon, coming out the turn onto the pit straight, and Soper starts his lap now. Next up will in fact be his teammate Lorenzo Tomaselli. He'll be next up on the racetrack. Soper then through into turn 2 now, then he goes before making his way through turns 3, 4 and 5 very soon. So through turn 3 goes Frederick Soper, then into turns 4 and 5 we will soon go. Now heading his way into turn 5 now then goes Frederick Soper, and now heading down the Wellington Straight. Let's see what his sector time is like compared to Florian Volker, the Polish driver, approaching the end of the first sector. 1/10 off of Volker in that first sector, so not too bad in the first sector for the Carlin driver. The Polish driver now then making his way around Love Field. He goes, as now he'll approach Woodcote very, very soon now then on the racetrack. And now coming out of Woodcote corner goes Frederick Soper as he now makes his way down the support pitch straight, heading his way towards Copse Corner now then, using the curb on the inside and a bit of it on the outside as well now then, as the Polish driver making his way towards Maggots and Beckett's. Through Maggots we go, then into Beckett's we go, and he'll soon approach Chapel, and we'll see what his middle sector is like. He was 1/10 off of Volker in that first sector. His second sector now then 4/10 off, so not looking to be a too bad lap for Soper. He might even get ahead of Patacek here. We shall wait and see. As Soper now then making his way through the right-hander he goes, as he flicks the car through this long sweeping right-hander. Down the hill he goes before making his way towards Vale and Club Corner now. Then he'll soon approach through the left and then into the double right-hander now. Then he will go coming off the turn and then into the final corner goes Frederick Soper in the Carlin now. Then he makes his way onto the pit straight and across the line he goes, and he goes into 4th position, 8/10 off of Florian Volker in the end there then. But in fact he actually finished behind Patacek, which is a bit surprising because at one point it looked like he was going to finish ahead. So it seems like Soper lost a bit of time in that last sector.
Yep, indeed, but I would still say it's a decent lap from the Polish driver. Yeah, you can be happy with that. Now let's see what Lorenzo Tomaselli can do. Of course, he's one driver with a lot of experience.
Yes, indeed, as Lorenzo now they're making his way through Vale and Club now, and of course teammates to Frederick Soper, so we'll see what he can do compared to his teammate. Tomaselli out of the final turn onto the pit straight as he now starts his lap. Next up on track will be Enis Parachki in the second of the two BMW Arrow McLaren SPs, as now Tomaselli making his way into turn 3 now, then flicks it in through the right-hander as he'll now make his way towards turns 4 and 5 on the racetrack now. Then out of the turn he goes, and then into turn 5 will go the Italian driver through the left-hander, and then in down the Wellington Straight I should say. I'm losing my bearings there a little bit, as now Tomaselli approaching the end of the first sector. 3/10 off in the first sector, that's 2/10 off of Frederick Soper, so far he is down on his teammate by 2/10 of a second there, as Tomaselli now then through Love Field he goes, as he rounds the right-hander now then before approaching Woodcote Corner, and then through the flat-out right-hander goes Tomaselli, and now approaching Copse Corner will go the Italian now then, as he flicks it in through the right-hander using all the curb on the inside, a bit of it on the outside as well before making his way towards Maggots and Beckett's now then on the racetrack through the first through the two corners of Maggots, then into the two corners of Beckett. Very fast secrets of corners now then, and let's see what his middle sector looks like, and he is 8/10 off, so he's still down on Soper, this time by 4/10 of a second, but we are aware that Soper lost time in the last sector. Is that going to be the same thing for Tomaselli or not? We shall wait and see. The Italian comes out of Stoke Corner now then before making his way down towards Vale and the double right-hander of Club now then, through the left and then into the double right-hander now then he goes, coming off the turn, and now into the final corner goes Lorenzo Tomaselli in the Carlin as he now crosses the line and he goes into 6th position. So in fact he gets he goes in between Fosbury and Mutka there. So, yeah, not exactly ideal, but not too bad at the same time. Very close there between 5th and 7th position, as we now look at Enis Parachki in the Arrow McLaren SP, powered by BMW, of course. And Parachki has shown some brilliant pace throughout this season, but it's fair to say that he's had quite a bit of bad luck as well to mix up with that.
Yeah, indeed, for him, I'd say so far it's a mixed season. But yet still a lot to go. So now he will start his lap. The next one will be, I think it's a
Tadej Daniel in the...
yeah, I was about to say this.
Tadej Daniel will be next up on the track in the Ferrari, as Parachki now then comes towards turn 4 on the track. The Macedonian driver, oh, he's made a mistake. He's had a flick of oversteer through into the corner, and that's not going to help his lap time whatsoever. And, well, this lap definitely in the bin for the Macedonian driver.
Yeah, now everything he has to do is damage limitation.
Yep, indeed. He's 4 tenths off in the first sector thanks to that mistake. So I guess people can work out what that lap time would have been if he'd not made that mistake through into turn 4 there. As Paratsky now then through into Woodcote Corner before making his way down towards Copse Corner. And he approaches that at 306 kilometers an hour there. So that's 2 kilometers quicker than what we saw some of the Mercedes-powered cars do. As now, and also a few Honda cars as well. So Paratsky through Beckett's he goes now then. We'll see what his middle sector is like now then. Then through into Chapel. Paratsky middle sector 6 tenths down in that middle sector. And I think he is going to end up behind his teammate. But I think he could end up still with maybe either... I think he might end up actually in between Soper and Fosbury here, but we'll wait and see. Paratsky now then down towards Vale now then he goes before making his way towards the double right-hander of Club now then. So coming off the turn he goes, and then into the final corner goes Ennis Paratsky in the McLaren. He now makes his way onto the pit straight, and Paratsky crosses the line, and he goes into 4th position. So, yeah, in fact, gets in front of Soper there. But I think without that mistake, Dennis, he would have definitely been quicker than his teammate.
Yeah, for sure, but at least he's right behind him, which is, let's say, something after his mistake. So, yeah, could be worse.
Be worse indeed. Now we look at Tadej Bosch Daniel in the Ferrari, of course, the blue and white Ferrari that is. His teammate Francesco La Rosa is in the red Ferrari, the red and white Ferrari, I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, now then, as Daniel now then making his way through Vale and Club Corner. Now then we go. As now Daniel comes out of the final turn and onto the pit straight as he now starts his lap now then. Next up on track will be Alex-Eric Lucien in the second Peugeot. As now Daniel approaches turn 2 now then on the racetrack before approaching turn 3. As flicking down the gears through into that corner now then. And now into turns 4 and 5 will go the Hungarian driver. As I wonder if he's maybe a little bit disappointed that the Hungarian Grand Prix is not on the top class calendar next season. But yeah, that's that really. As now Tadej Bosch Daniel makes his way down the Wellington Straight. And he's 2 tenths off Volker in the first sector. But he is slightly down on Soper's first sector time. So he is a tenth down on Soper at this stage. But we know that Soper lost time in that last sector. But who knows really. Maybe the Ferrari is also hooked up in this middle sector. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see how fast he goes approaching Copse Corner now then. He approaches that at 303 kilometers an hour. That's 3 kilometers slower than what Paratsky did approaching that corner just earlier on. As Daniel now then through into Maggots now then. As he'll now approach Beckett's corner through the left and then into the long swooping right-hander now then he goes before approaching Chapel. Let's see what his middle sector is going to look like. And he's 8 tenths down in that middle sector as my voice is deciding to go on me randomly there. But anyway, it's now approaching the right-hander. He might actually be behind both McLarens here. We shall wait and see. And maybe even Soper as well. We shall see. As now Daniel comes down towards Vale and the double right-hander of Club. Through the left, now into the double right-hander goes Tadej Bosch Daniel, and now into the final corner and onto the pit straight goes Tadej Bosch Daniel in the Ferrari, and he goes into 9th position. That's a very poor lap for the Ferrari driver, and well, we'll have to wait and see what Francesco La Rosa can do a little bit later on, but so far, looks like Ferrari might actually be off the pace here at Silverstone.
Yeah, maybe. Could be, of course, it's a high-speed track, and the top speed wasn't that promising. We have seen higher top speeds in the laps before, but maybe they are a bit more on race trim. So let's see what they will do in the race.
Now look at Alex-Eric Lucien in the second Peugeot. His teammate Frederick Soper is currently in not Frederick Soper, sorry, Simon Mutka is currently in. I get those two mixed up because they were teammates last season. But Mutka currently in 8th position. Lucien starts his lap. Next up on track will be the current championship leader, Julius Anderson, who'll be next up on the racetrack in the Penske. Of course, his teammate has already done a lap, so we'll see what the second Penske is able to do around here at Silverstone. And of course, obviously, I think we'll obviously discuss a little bit about some of these drivers before the race starts, as Lucien is 3 tenths down in the first sector. But Anderson having a great season so far in World Champ Car, of course, determined to get back in the top class in 2023 after being chopped out of a drive at the end of 2021. So Lucien now then, we'll keep an eye on him as he comes out of Woodcote now then. Let's see what his speed is like approaching Copse Corner, and he approaches that at 302 kilometers an hour. I think his teammate only did 300 approaching that, so seems that maybe Mutka was probably a little bit more draggy through into that part of the track, but we'll wait and see as Lucien now then goes around the left and then into the right-hander. He will now go, as now going through Chapel, there goes Lucien, as his middle sector is 9 tenths off in that middle sector, as he looks like he might actually come, where could he end up actually? I think he might actually be behind Fosbury, Tomaselli and Mutka here, but we'll wait and see. He might actually be in between both Mutka and Daniel here, but we shall see what the Frenchman can manage. He might actually surprise us and actually pull off a very good last sector. We shall see. The Peugeot driver comes out of the final turn as the Frenchman now then crosses the line and he goes into 10th position. In fact, he slots behind Delay-Bosch Daniel, so not a very good time either for Alex-Eric Lucien, as 2 tenths off of Simon Mutka, so not the best lap for Alex-Eric Lucien right there. 3 tenths clear of Luke Mason. Now, we look at the championship leader, Julius Anderson, now then, in the Penske, and wasn't able to win last time out in Interlagos, but is determined to possibly win here at Silverstone and try and get his 3rd victory of the season. And so far, Anderson definitely looking very strong in this series. As Graf seems to have lost connection again, as I just heard his side on Discord just go off. I think Graf's just lost connection again. So Anderson now then going around Stoke Corner now then he goes, as he now makes his way through the long swooping right-hander now then, as Anderson makes his way down towards Vale and the double right-hander of Club Corner now then. We will go, as now through the first part and then into the second part, we'll go Julius Anderson in the Penske car now then, as he comes out of the turn onto the pit straight, and Anderson starts his lap, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do compared to Volker. Next up on track will be Francesco La Rosa in the second Ferrari, and it'll be interesting to see if Ferrari are indeed off the pace, given that Delay-Bosch Daniel is 1.5 seconds off, down in 9th position. As now we look at the 2016 DTM champion, Julius Anderson comes out of turn 4 now then, before approaching turn 5. He will go as he now comes off the turn, making his way down the Wellington Straight, as Anderson now then approaches the middle sector now then. And let's see what his first sector is like. 44 thousandths down on Volker in the first sector. I think he is slightly up on Fitzwater as well in that first sector, but clearly down on Volker at the moment is Julius Anderson, as now he comes out of Luffield Corner now then, as he will now make his way towards Woodcote. As now approaching Copse Corner now then, he will soon approach it. I think Graf might actually be back now with me. It looks like once again he had connection issues. It says he's in the call, so I think he's still here or not. But anyway, I think he's still having issues because I haven't heard him. So Anderson now then coming around the tender. He goes as he now makes his way through Chapel. Let's see what his middle sector looks like compared to Volker. And he's actually now up on Volker in the middle sector by 35 thousandths of a second. So he's now set a purple middle sector there. As Julius Anderson, as he now comes around Stoke Corner. Let's see if he can keep this up then. The championship leader making his way down towards Vale and the double right-hander of Club Corner now then. As he's the 5th to last driver, of course, on the racetrack. Through the first part of Club and then into the second part goes Julius Anderson now then. Into the final corner and onto the pit straight then goes Anderson. Let's see, can he go to the top of the timing sheets? He most certainly can, but only by 54 thousandths of a second, a 1:32.684. And despite being down on Volker in that first sector, Dennis, he was able to pull it back in the last 2 sectors. As I'm not sure if Dennis heard that there, because it looked like he was adjusting his microphone there. But anyways, next up on track is Francesco La Rosa. Now, we saw that Delay-Bosch Daniel is way down the field at the moment in 10th. We'll have to see now. Could La Rosa potentially be off the pace here? We'll have to see.
Yep, indeed.
So now La Rosa then comes around the final turn and onto the pit straight now. Then he goes as La Rosa starts his lap. Next up will be Adam Wolf in the first of the 2 pyramid cars. Then I think Thomas Anderson will be the next to go out. And then the final car to go out will, of course, be the winner last time out. That being Gabriel Gomez. Of course, still speculation around what will happen to him for the remainder of the season, given that Amelia Wilson is obviously retiring after the US GP. Of course, hopefully we'll get an answer later towards a later date, obviously, but still a lot of speculation going on there, given what he said in the past about him focusing on World Champ Car, but we shall wait and see. But La Rosa 54 thousandths off in that first sector. Not a too bad first sector there, so that might put Delebosch Daniels' time to a bit of shame there, because that's not too far off the two Penske's there in the first sector. But La Rosa now then approaching Copse Corner, as the Italian now then approaches that at about, I think that's at about 300 kilometers an hour there. So it's in fact the Ferraris that are struggling with a little bit of pace down towards Copse Corner there, as now La Rosa coming around Maggots and then into Beckett's now then. He will go as the Ferrari driver flicks it through the right-hander and then through into Chapel. Then goes Francesco La Rosa onto the hanger straight, 2/10 off in the middle sector. So I think he's going to slot in between Fitzwater and Patacek here, but we shall see, unless he makes a mistake, of course. Through into Stowe Corner goes the Italian, heading down the hill towards Vale and Club Corner now. Then he will soon come up to, as now through the left. Now into the double right-hander goes Francesco La Rosa, as he will now make his way into the final corner and onto the pit straight. La Rosa, across the line he goes in the Ferrari, and he goes into 4th position. So, yeah, 1.2 seconds quicker than Delebosch Daniel there. That just suggests to me that Daniel just didn't really hook it up on that lap.
Unfortunately not. For Daniel, it was indeed a bad lap in comparison to his teammate and overall. But now he is another contender, maybe for the front pack. It's Adam Wolf.
Yep, indeed, Pyramid have been very strong in qualifying. It's just that so far this season their consistency has been a bit of a question mark, because they at times Wolf and Thomas Anderson have ran into trouble. And speaking of which, Thomas Anderson will actually be next to go out on track. It'll of course be the penultimate car to go out on track, because of course the last car that will go out on track will be the winner last time out, Gabriel Gomez. As now Adam Wolf now then making his way towards turn 4 now then he goes. As now approaching turn 5, he will soon go on the racetrack now then, as he now makes his way onto the Wellington Straight, as now Wolf will approach the end of the first sector, and he's 58 thousandths off of Julius in the first sector there, but a slightly down on Francesco La Rosa in the first sector. But we'll see what the Pyramid is able to do in the last 2 sectors. The BMW engine, we know, is quite powerful in back of both of the McLaren and the Pyramid cars, as now Wolf approaches the end of as he now approaches Copse Corner. He approaches that at 304 kilometers an hour. In fact, 2 kilometers slower, in fact, than what the McLarens were able to do approaching that corner. As now Wolf now then makes his way through into Maggots and now into Beckett's now. Then he will go, flicks it in for the left, and into the right he goes as he now makes his way towards Chapel Corner. What's his middle sector going to look like? He's 3/10 off, in fact, in the middle sector. So he looks like he might actually slot behind Francesco La Rosa here, and also in front of Patacek here. So Wolf not looking like he's going to be challenging for pole position here, as he now comes off the turn. The Power Max sponsored Pyramid car makes his way towards the left, and the double right-hander now then he will go, as he'll now come off the turn and now into the final corner goes Adam Wolf in the Pyramid now. Then he makes his way onto the pit straight, and across the line he will go, and he goes into 5th position. So yeah, just under 3/10 off of Francesco La Rosa in the end there then. So a little bit surprising there to see Wolf behind the Ferrari.
Yeah, that's quite a bit surprising, to be honest, to see him behind the Ferraris, as I said. But of course, the main focus is not the quali but the race. So let's see. Of course, Pyramid still has one driver to go, and that is Thomas Anderson.
Yep, indeed, as Thomas Anderson now then makes his way onto the hanger straight. He's the penultimate car on the track. The last car, of course, to go out on track will be Gabriel Gomez in the Andretti, as now Anderson now then making his way down towards Vale and Club now. Then he'll soon approach through the double right-hander goes the Swedish driver out of the turn, and now through the final turn and onto the pit straight goes Thomas Anderson in the Pyramid. He starts his lap, and of course, just to confirm, the next car and the final car on track will be Gabriel Gomez in the Andretti, as Anderson comes out of turn 2 now, then approaching the right-hander. Can he maybe try and beat his brother to the top of the timing screens? We shall see, as Thomas now then through into turn 4 and then into turn 5 now. Then he will go, as now coming around Aintree and now down the Wellington Straight we go. Let's see what Anderson's first sector is going to look like compared to his brother Julius here. Approaching the end of the first sector, and he's 87 thousandths off his brother there through sector 1, and I think he's slightly down on Wolf as well in that first sector, as now Thomas comes around Lovefield Corner now then, as he now comes off the turn, as he now makes his way towards Woodcote Corner now then. Anderson making his way down the support pit straight before approaching Copse Corner. and he approaches that corner there. Unfortunately, the timing tower has made us block the view of how fast they were going into Cop's corner. Thank you, Yuri. It was 3:05 that Anderson approached that part of the track there. Let's see what Anderson's middle sector looks like compared to his brother now then. And he's 3 tenths off in the middle sector, so similar to what Wolf did in that middle sector. So I think he could also slot behind La Rosa, but maybe just get in front of Wolf here. We shall see. Thomas Anderson now then through to Stoke corner he goes, making his way down the hill towards Vale and the double right-hander of Club. He'll soon go now then. Flicks it in through the left and then into the double right-hander he goes as he now comes off the turn and now into the final corner goes Thomas Anderson in the pyramid now then as he now crosses the line and he does a 1:33.238 to go into 5th place. So he does get in front of Wolf and again both pyramids behind Francesco La Rosa. So now only one car left that could potentially stop Julius Anderson from taking pole here, and that is the man who won last time out into Lagos, Gabriel Gomez. And who knows really, could he really maybe try and get pole position here at Silverstone?
Maybe. Could see, of course, his teammate is very close to Julius Anderson, so he could maybe have a shot for pole, but let's see if he's able to do it.
Starts his lap now then. Of course, Gomez still yet to get a pole in 2022. Could he potentially get the first pole position here at Silverstone? As now Gomez makes his way towards turn 3 now then, as he'll now approach turns 4 and 5 very, very soon on the racetrack as the Brazilian comes around that 4th turn and now approaching turn 5 at Aintree now then. Let's see what the Brazilian's first sector is going to look like compared to Julius Anderson now then. Gomez approaching the end of the first sector now then. What's his first sector look like? He's purple first sector, 1/10 up in the first sector for Gabriel Gomez, so it's a very good first sector for the Brazilian driver as he now makes his way around Luffield corner now then. He comes off the turn as he now makes his way towards Woodcut now then, as he now comes around the long swooping right-hander now then, is now approaching Cop's corner. Let's see what speed he's able to do. If we could just about see above that, we weren't able to, I'm afraid. It's completely obscured that, but anyway, as now Gomez approaching Maggots and Beckett's now then, so through into Maggots goes Gomez and then into Beckett's corner will go the Brazilian driver, as now through into the second part of Beckett's and now through into Chapel corner goes Gomez. What's his middle sector going to look like compared to Anderson? He's still up in the middle sector. He's nearly 2/10 up this time by, and unless he doesn't make a mistake, I think Gomez is going to shoot right to the top of the timing screens now then. So Gomez through into Stone corner he goes now then, flicks it in for the right-hander down the hill towards Vale and the double right-hander of Club corner now then he goes. Is Gomez going to get a bonus point and get his first pole position of the season? Gomez out of the first part of Club, now through the second part, the final corner of Club 2 now then, down the Hamilton straight, and Gomez across the line, and he gets pole position right there. Gabriel Gomez gets his first pole position of 2022 as he goes 1/10 quicker, a 1:32.556 for the Brazilian driver there. A very good time indeed. So here are your results then for qualifying. Gabriel Gomez takes his first pole position of the season with Julius Anderson, the championship leader, in second, Florian Volker in third, with Zachary Fitzwater fourth, ensuring the top four consists of Andretti's and Penske's. Francesco La Rosa starts in 5th, with Thomas Anderson in 6th. Adam Wolf 7th. Mamet Patacek is in 8th, followed by teammate Enis Parachki in 9th. Frederick Soper completes the top 10, with Jared Fosbury in 11th, and you can do the rest, Dennis.
Yeah, in P12 we have Lorenzo Tomaselli, Simon Mutkas in P13. There was Daniel with the bad lap in P14 only. Alex Eric Lucien is in P15 with Luke Mason in P16. I would say that was a strong lap. In P17 we have Yuri Gabriel. A second. Alexa, stop.
And Dennis's Alexa decided to go off on him there.
Yeah.
Continue.
In P17 we have Yuri Gabriel. In P18, Jerome Stop. That pronunciation was terrible, but it is what it is. Rosetta Martinez is in P19 with Luca Farina in 20th. And we have Yuri Kottachvili in 21st and Dorian Milewski in 22nd.
Yep, indeed. So we're just going to take a brief pause for the moment while Yuri sorts out the grid for the race and also he sorts out the mistake rate. But don't go anywhere because the race will be coming up also on this stream as well. In the meantime, I'm going to silence myself and get the tweet prepared for Twitter. So in the meantime, guys, stick around because the race is coming up very shortly.
Yep, indeed.
Okay, I am back, and yep, so the tweet is now up on Twitter. So yeah, it should hopefully be a very exciting race. Of course, the top four consisting of Andretti's and Penske's into the first corner should make things very, very interesting, especially for maybe a few drivers in the field who are probably trying to go for a top class seat next season. Of course, we'll go into more details about certain drivers in the pilot episode tomorrow, as the GP4 OC News makes its welcome return this tomorrow, just before the practice session for the Hungarian Grand Prix at the top class. So do look forward to that as well, as I think Dennis is just having a few connection issues again, as he's just popped back in. So it should hopefully be quite an interesting session and a race here at Silverstone. So hopefully as well, the silly season could be quite interesting as well. I think a lot of people are expecting it to be crazy. How crazy? You just have to find out in the pilot episode tomorrow. But yeah, for a lot of guys in World ChampCar, Dennis, whilst we won't go into too much detail, for them really, they'll be hoping they do enough to potentially get into the top class next season.
Of course, providing they sign up, but some have. So yeah, it will be interesting to see if we have some. I'm expecting at least one or two from here to go to the top class. Yeah, who will be? We have to wait and see.
Yep, indeed, as we'll have to obviously wait and see who that will be, of course. Of course, the first team news of the season will be next week as well. Tomorrow is just a pilot episode as well, basically just to basically see any rumours, obviously stuff that we know about and all this and that. It's kind of the usual thing, and it does seem a little bit weird because, of course, it hasn't been too long since we last saw the GP4C news, which was a few weeks ago, of course, when we had that impromptu episode. So, yeah, but now we're back with the proper episodes, really, and hopefully it should be quite an interesting 10 weeks, of course, after the pilot episode, obviously. But back to here at World ChampCar, of course. Obviously, as we saw from the top class here at Silverstone, this track can produce very, very exciting action. And of course, really, the last time we came here for World ChampCar, we did have a little bit of a fuel issue, but now because we have that new rule when it comes to strategy, it shouldn't be too much of a problem now, which is a good thing. So we could end up seeing maybe a split across the field of 1 and 2 stops. So we'll have to wait and see, really, with Silverstone. It could be quite interesting when it comes to not just the racing on the track, but also from the strategy department as we're about to get underway there. That was perfect timing, me talking about that. But anyway, we're about to get going for 36 laps of action then. So for anybody who, of course, missed the qualifying session, this is what the grid looks like then. So on pole position for the 5th time in his career, it is Gabriel Gomez in the Andretti, followed by Julius Anderson, the championship leader, in 2nd. Florian Volker starts in 3rd, with Zachary Fitzwater in 4th.
In P5 on the grid, we have Francesco La Rosa. In P6, we have the brother of Julius, Thomas Anderson. Adam Wolf will start from 7th on the grid, with Marek Ptasek starting from P8.
His teammate Enis Paratsky starts in 9th, with Frederick Soper in 10th position. Then it is Jared Fosbury who starts in 11th, with Lorenzo Tomaselli in 12th.
I have to mute myself for a bit.
We're on to P13. Okay, it seems that Dennis might have disappeared there for a moment. So, we might as well go through the rest of the grid then, whilst Dennis has the issues there. So, Simon Mutka starts in 13th, with Tadej Daniel in 14th. Alex Eric Lucian starts in 15th, with Luke Mason 16th. Yuri Gabriel starts in 17th, with Guillaume Stopp in 18th. Then it is Rosetta Martinez 19th, Luca Farina in 20th, followed by Yuri Kratchfield in 21st and Dorian Malevsky in 22nd. I think Dennis is now back with us, as we're about to get going for the race now then. And whoa, look at this. We have got changeable conditions here. We're going to start off with very extreme wet weather to start off with, but it could change to normal wet conditions a little bit later on. And of course, we know with the normal wet, there is a soft and hard compound. So traditional British weather here at Silverstone for World ChampCar here, as everybody will be on the extreme wet tyres, of course. So strategy will be quite interesting as well, especially if we're expecting changeable conditions here at Silverstone. So here we are then on the grid for the start of the World ChampCar race. Here at Silverstone, we have Gomez on the right, Julius Anderson on the left. There's the 3 lights, 4 lights, and now 5 lights on your screens. It is lights out, and away we go here at Silverstone. Who is going to get the lead into the first quarter as everybody tippy-toes out of their grid position? It looks like a terrible start for the front two, as Volker's got an absolutely amazing start from the second row of the grid. Has he got the lead from his own teammate in the first corner? He has. Volker takes the lead here at Silverstone. Fitzwater has also jumped the front two as well. He's up into second place. A nightmare start for the front two of Gomez and Anderson, who looks like Anderson has had the worst start, because I think La Rosa has also jumped him at the start as well. Anderson down to fifth position as we're going to see if everybody's made it through the first few turns okay, as is there any damage? No, there is damage. Muka's got damage at the first lap. It looks like Muka's got damage, as Mason looks like he's out of the race as well, because he's off the track. So chaos at the first few corners here.
Yeah, absolute chaos here, but what a start from Florian Volker and Zachary Fitzwater. Yes, we see Mason out of the race.
He got hit from the back, it seems, by Simon Mutka, so it looks like Mason's race is out before the first few turns. But let's see it from Florian Volker's perspective. What a start from the five-time world champion, and also from Zachary Fitzwater as well, who was able to get the jump on these two as well. Volker just saw a gap in the middle. Kind of reminds me of a Mika Hakkinen style start, that does, from 2000, where he was able to split in between Coulthard and Schumacher. Volker says, thank you very much.
I think it was Monster 98.
And I think he also did it in 2000 as well at the Nürburgring. But anyway, as Mason out of the race as mentioned because of the collision with Mutka. But Gomez down to third position. And meanwhile, Thomas Anderson got jumped by his teammate Adam Wolf at the start. But it looks like he wants P6 back. Going into Brooklyn's corner as the two pyramids go side by side. But it looks like Wolf is going to hold on. As that's the yellow flags to confirm that Mason is out of the race as Volker comes around Lovefield. But he's got Fitzwater breathing down his neck. And it looks like Gomez may also want a piece of him. But Volker currently leading the way at the moment in his 36 lap race as he comes out of Woodcote corner. Could Volker maybe try and win this race today? Who knows? Maybe. I think it's a little bit too early to say at this point in time, especially with the changeable conditions that we've got here. Of course, Volker did win here in the top class in 2017, so he has got experience of winning around this track. As meanwhile, the two pyramids continue to scrap for sixth position now then, as Thomas tries to find a way through on Wolf, but he can't make it work out at the moment. Wolf finding himself in between an Anderson sandwich at the moment. He's got Julius in front and his teammate Thomas behind him, as they now come out of Beckett's and then through into Chap. Now then we go as they now make their way down the hangar straight now then, as it looks like La Rosa is actually putting Gomez under a bit of pressure here as they now come around Stowe corner, but Gomez holding on for the moment and wasn't able to see what the fuel loads look like for all of the drivers. I don't know if anybody's carrying a bit heavier. No, Gomez not carrying that much fuel, and it looks like everybody's on a similar strategy, it seems. So that's that really. As but of course, we are expecting changeable positions. Thomas suddenly gets on the inside of Patacek there, who's not had the best of starts, and Patacek down to 11th place as a result of that, as Volker's actually now pulling away from Zachary Fitzwater. He's opened up the gap to 1.5 seconds as Fitzwater's got a 7/10 cushion to Gomez, but it looks like Gomez is just struggling to get up to speed here.
Yeah, so far for Gomez, it's not looking that promising after the first lap. But of course, there's still 35 more to go. So everything still to play for. He's still quite close, I would say. But of course, La Rosa's also on his back.
Yeah, indeed, and Yuri's just notified us. If in case you haven't noticed, it looks like the helmets have now been fixed for World ChampCar, which is a very good thing to see, because as you see, Volker has now got his traditional helmet back, his Sebastian Vettel style helmet. So hopefully Parachki will have his helmet that he was asking for in the past to be reinstated in the future. Obviously not for now, of course, because they've only just been fixed. So I'll have to try and find that file again at some point, because it has been a bit of a while. But the airs have been lifted, and it wasn't just Mutka that got damage on the first lap. It was also Gillum Stop that also got damage. So there were two cars that pitted for damages. Meanwhile, La Rosa on the inside of Gomez in the Cop's corner can't make it work, and it's now dragged Julius Anderson into this fight now, as Anderson's trying to pick up places. As well, it looks like La Rosa's going to get trapped here, and Anderson, contact! There's contact between them, and Anderson has gone off the track there. And well, that nearly ended in disaster. But Anderson has gone for a spin, and well, I think that's all on La Rosa. They're not paying too much attention. Don't rejoin dangerously. Thank God. Oh, he nearly collected Lucian there, but thankfully it wasn't a dangerous rejoin. But yeah, I think that was all on Lucian there.
Yeah, look at that. That was so close. It could have been almost a carbon copy of what we saw in 2020, the top class with Joseph Willows and Jake Galloway.
Yeah,
lucky escape.
Yeah, indeed. Luckily, both of their races didn't end, but La Rosa definitely the one to blame for this one with Julius Anderson. He is not going to be happy about that one. The championship leader going spinning through Maggots and Beckett's there. As, well, you could see he actually took a bump there, which nearly made him lose the back end again there as he rejoined down in 13th position. Not sure if any penalty is going to be given for that one or not, but anyway, it's now... They come down the hanger straight. Meanwhile, Delebush Daniel now on the inside of Marat Patacek now. Then as they come around Stoke Corner, and Patacek able to hold on for the time being now. Then as he now make their way down towards Vale and Club Corner. Meanwhile, La Rosa having to fend off from Adam Wolf now. Then as La Rosa currently in 4th place. In fact, unseen by the cameras. In fact, no, never mind. As the two parents catch up as Volker now with the fastest lap of 153.458. As meanwhile, Anderson attacking his own teammate Wolf again. Going into the first corner. Has he got enough of an overlap to get by his teammate through Abbey Corner? And he most certainly can. Thomas Anderson up into 5th position. And meanwhile, Gomez on the inside now then of Zachary Fitzwater. Fitzwater's got a problem. Fitzwater has got big problems. A disaster for Penske. He's out of the race. It's 2 terminal. So for the second race in a row, Zachary Fitzwater is out of the race, and we are down to 20 runners now. Then it's disaster for Penske here at Silverstone.
Yeah, once again, one of the most unluckiest drivers in the OC. But yeah, it's a big shame for him. And yeah, as you said, it's down to 20 runners. And is it me or is that both Penske's in trouble early on?
Anderson, of course, was the one that got spun round, of course, by La Rosa. So he's out of the point. And, well, oh no, they're both out.
And he's out!
Anderson is out of the race. He looks like he's collided with that. Looks like Yuri Gabriel at Brooklyn's corner. There's both Penske's are out of the race. Andretti are going to be licking their lips on that one.
Holy moly! I did not expect that coming. But yeah, that was... I don't know what's happened there, but Anderson will be absolutely fuming under his crash helmet. Let's see what actually...
We're down to 18 runners as a result of that crash. Let's see how on earth this one happened then. So Anderson was on the inside, and it looks like a typical Brooklyn's crash here, as it looked like Gabriel just turned in a bit too early, and confirmation it was brake issue for Zachary Fitzwater that took him out of the race. But we're already down to 18 runners, and well, it's just a typical crash down at Brooklyn's, really.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, I think... Obviously, no penalty, I don't think, is going to get awarded there down at Brooklyn's corner. And it looks like there's no penalty given for the Anderson-La Rosa incident either. So La Rosa might have just got away with that one. As, in fact, he's... Okay, La Rosa, in fact, just came through there from Yuri there, because I think he was still contemplating. La Rosa has got a 10-second time penalty for that collision with Anderson earlier on. Of course, that Brooklyn's corner is not going to be looked at, because, of course, it is a Brooklyn's corner. It is quite a common corner where we see some crashes. We have seen it in F2 as well. But, yeah, that's that, really. So 10 seconds for La Rosa. So technically, Thomas Anderson is up in 3rd place right now at the moment, as... he's now got the other Anderson breathing down his neck. That means Thomas Anderson. But he can't overtake down into Brooklyn's because there's yellow flags down there. So you can't overtake. Otherwise, you risk yourself a 5-second time penalty. If that is the case, as Gabriel is being hoisted over the barriers. Not sure about Julius at the moment, who I think still getting towed away at the moment. There is still yellow flags down there. As in fact, Anderson wasn't even close enough to go for a move on La Rosa anyway. But La Rosa, of course, does have the 10-second time penalty. So, yeah, that's that, really. As now we look at, that's Tomaselli in the points. Daniel's now into the points. He's all over the back of Matt Patacek, but of course he can't overtake down into Brooklyn's because, of course, there is yellow flags down there. Otherwise, he will get a 5-second time penalty if he even tried. And then Julius's car is still being towed away at the moment, so it might take a little bit of a while for his car to clear up down at that part. But Volker now with a big lead now, thanks to all of that's been kicking off. As now as Thomas is now on the inside of La Rosa into Cop's corner, but he can't make it work, so he has to hang back as a result now. Then as they come out of the turn before making his way towards Maggots and Beckett's now, then he takes a wider line and as a result loses all the momentum to La Rosa, but he might actually catch it back up as they go down towards the hangar straight. As let's see if Thomas Anderson can get the move done down the hangar straight here.
Yep, so I think Anderson could launch an attack. He's going around the outside. He's trying it, but La Rosa has seen that coming and defends very well.
Meanwhile, there's a battle here between Parachki and Sopers. Oh,
Crash!
contact!
Oh!
Crash down there. It's similar to what we saw with Wilson and Martins at that part in the top class, and that puts Soper out of the race. Is Parachki out as well? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
he's clearly out.
Yes,
Yes.
he's out of the race, so we're down to 16 runners now in this race. It's been chaos in the rain here at Silverstone.
Yeah, it's absolute chaos here. So much dramatic action here. No, yeah, I would say typical Stowe corner crash here.
Yep, indeed, and it's a similar incident to what we saw with Wilson and Martins last week in the top class, regardless of the weather, so obviously no penalty will be going out there, but even so, that's their race is done with, and we're already down to 16 runners here at Silverstone. This race has been chaotic in the wet conditions now, then as a result, it has let Lucian and Farina now into the points. Farina, of course, starting way down the field, of course, thanks to his difficult qualifying, as Daniel tries to have a go at Patacek through into Abbey Corner there, but he can't make it work. There is now 2 yellow flag zones, so they can't overtake both Brooklands and Stowe at the moment, so they have been prohibited at the moment. Anybody who tries to overtake into those corners risks getting a 5-second time penalty as a result. But yeah, that's pretty much that then, really, as they now come down the Hanger Straight now then, not the Hanger Straight, the Wellington Straight, as La Rosa still went defensive there, but not like he needed to, because there are yellow flags down there, and if Anderson tried to go for a move, it would have been a penalty for him. But anyway, now coming around the right-hander, as Anderson's car still being towed away by the marshals, as Daniel tried to have a go at Patacek, but he can't go for the move, because otherwise he will get a penalty, so thankfully he backs out of that one, as nearly risking a penalty there was the Hungarian driver, as now he'll see if he can try and line up Patacek for a move into Copse Corner if he can, as they now come out of love field through Woodcote now, then we go, as they now make their way towards Copse Corner now, then he's in the slipstream, as Anderson is still stuck behind La Rosa, can't find a way through on him at the moment, as Daniel tried to have a go on the inside of Patacek into Copse Corner there, but it didn't work out there then, as he tries to see if he can get him around the outside into Magnus and Beckers, but he can't make it work, so he has to hang back for the moment now then. As now Anderson, he can't go for the move here, because otherwise it will be a penalty if he even tries to go for the move. La Rosa goes defensive, and he can't make the move stick, but of course he can't go for the move down there, otherwise he risks a penalty as a result. But can he get him out of traction here? Coming down the hill towards Vale Corner, tries to look around the outside, but he can't, so he has to hang back for the moment, as Soper's car now gets hoisted over the barriers, as the yellows have now been lifted at both Brooklands and Copse and Stowe Corner, so you're now free to overtake at those corners. It looks like Daniel, with insane traction compared to Patacek, tries to hang it around the outside into Vale Corner, but he can't make it work. Patacek holds on to the place for the moment there, but yeah, it looks like people are trying to go for very risky moves around here at Silverstone.
Yeah, sometimes the risk is paying off, but as we have seen already, sometimes that could have led to dramatic consequences. But yeah, it's yeah, very dramatic so far here.
Now Thomas has got a run. He's already pulling to the inside here. La Rosa didn't give La Rosa any chance to defend the position as they go side by side into Brooklands Corner. Has Thomas got the move done? And the answer to that is yes, he has. So Thomas Anderson is up into third position. He's now onto the podium. Now can he get a hold of the two Andretti in front? Meanwhile, Daniel has also had a good run going down into Brooklands Corner, down the inside of Marat Patacek. And he looks like he's going to finally get the move done. The McLaren, yes, he has. Daniel up into 7th place. He gets the move done. And that's that for him then. So Daniel now then released now from Patacek, and now he can try and push and catch up to the rest of the pack.
Yeah, indeed. Well, speaking of rest of the pack, Gomez, I cannot see what the gap is currently between him and Volker.
Indeed, as yeah, they are related.
10 seconds, wow.
Has 10-second gap Volker has got on Gomez. That is massive. But yes, Thomas and Julius are related, Jafari. They are brothers in real life. As coming around the right-hander we go, as Thomas Anderson now will try and catch up to Gabriel Gomez in front, as he's now starting to pull away from Francesco La Rosa. As a result now then, as they make their way through into Vale and the double right-hander of Club now then. So through the first part and then into the second part we will go now then on the racetrack now then, coming out the final turn and onto the pit straight we go, as we're not going to be able to see the gap, are we? It's 1.2 between Thomas and Francesca, but we're not going to be able to see the gap between Thomas and Gabriel up in front at the moment. It might show us when the graphic on the bottom comes about next time around. And hopefully it does, and it will do. 1.8 seconds is the gap between the pair of them at this stage, as Gomez just comes out of turn 4 there, as he's just not got the pace to Volker in these wet conditions. Volker absolutely flying in these conditions today, and so as Gomez now they're making his way towards Brooklands now then. As now we look at Volker now then, we're right on board with a 10-second gap in front, and so far we're seeing old signs of the old Florian Volker here, Dennis, from the top class.
Yeah, indeed. That's, I think, what everyone wanted to see. But of course, it's still lap 7 only, so there's still everything to play for in this race.
Indeed so, as Volker now then makes his way through the right and left-hander. He's now got an 11.2 second lead in front of Gomez, and Thomas is definitely gaining onto Gomez. He took 3 tenths out of him in the first sector. The gap now 1.5 seconds between the pair of them now then, as they go through into Beckett's now then we go, as he's definitely trying to get to second place and maybe ruining any chance of an Andretti 1-2 here today, as they now come down the hanger straight now then. Obviously he's not close enough now, but he has got the gap to under a second now between himself and Gomez. 7 tenths the gap now between Gomez and Thomas Anderson, but so far Thomas still not within slipstream range of the Brazilian in front, but he might have a go at him down the Wellington Straight if he's close enough next time around. We shall see, but definitely Thomas definitely lapping quicker than Gomez. And I'm just looking up at the sky. It is starting to get a little bit more brighter here, and it looks like the rain is starting to ease off a little bit.
Yeah, of course, it will take some time to get the track drier, but yeah, that could have some impact on the race.
Indeed so, but it looks like Anderson might have a go at Gomez very soon in their fight for second place. We'll have to wait and see what goes on in that battle, as Volker just comes down the Wellington Straight. But what's going on with his teammate and Thomas Anderson behind, I want to know, as they're fighting currently for second place at the moment. Volker continues to lead the way out in front now then. In fact, Thomas has got to go here on Gabriel Gomez, and they go side by side down towards Brooklands. Is Thomas going to get second place over Gabriel Gomez into Brooklands' corner? And the answer to that is yes, he is. Thomas Anderson up into second place. He split the two Andretti cars. Now, does he have the pace to catch up to Volker or not? He's got a lot of gap he needs to gain if he wants to get a hold of Volker by the end of the race. But Anderson, the other Anderson, that is Thomas Anderson, currently on the charge in that pyramid.
Yeah, he's absolutely on a roll at the moment. He, of course, already forgot where he started, but it wasn't that high.
Started in 6th position, so
yeah, from 6th to 2nd. That is some comeback, of course. He won some places after Fitzwater's problem and Anderson's crash. But yeah, still, so far it's great performance from Thomas.
Indeed so, and we'll obviously see what his pace is like compared to Volker as well during this race as he comes around Stowe Corner now then, as he'll try, as he's now starting to pull away from Gabriel Gomez as a result. 12.8 seconds is the current gap, so we'll see what that is like when they cross the line, hopefully, as Volker just starts lap 9 of the race here at Silverstone at 36, as now coming around the final corner now then we go, as coming on to the pit straight now then, as Gomez starting to lose more time now to Thomas Anderson. 1.6 now is the gap. So it looks like he's got the pace to match Francesco La Rosa at the moment. And Yuri is saying in our little Discord chat that Flo's currently driving like it's 2018 at the moment. So
yeah.
let's not get ahead of ourselves. So as now coming out of turn 4 and then into turn 5 we go now then on the racetrack. As now he comes down the Wellington Straight, as currently looking at Volker, 12.7 seconds. So, yeah, it looks like Thomas Anderson is gaining, but not by much. He's only really gained a tenth out of Volker in that sector there. So, although he is gaining, he's not really gaining too much onto the 5-time top-class champion at the moment.
Yeah, not at the moment, but yeah, still, I don't think Thomas Anderson is pushing as hard as he could do, maybe. But let's see if he can gain some time in the second sector here.
We shall see, of course, as he now makes his way through Maggots, and Beckett's now there on the racetrack, clearly lapping a lot quicker than Gomez, who's struggling to keep up with the Swedish driver now then, as they come out of Beckett's now then. A very interesting camera angle there, as 12 point, it's roughly the same sort of gap that time around. So Volker and Anderson, safe to say on that occasion, maybe lapping the same sort of pace as each other at this stage. Both of them clearly loving these conditions at the moment in both of their respective cars. I did notice as well, I think La Rosa is actually starting to gain a little bit now onto Gabriel Gomez, judging from the exit of Beckett's there. So Gomez may have a bit more to deal with, because it looks like the Ferrari La Rosa is starting to gain on him as well. So it just seems like Gomez is, unlike what we saw in Brazil last time out, just doesn't seem to be comfortable in these conditions around here at Silverstone.
Yeah, unfortunately not. But of course these conditions are, will improve. But yeah, that will be interesting to see.
Indeed so, as now coming around the turn 4 now then, is Dorian Milewski having to fend off from his fellow compatriot Mutka. Is this going to end in disaster? No, it's not. That's a very good move there from Simon Mutka there. He left it a little bit tight on the inside there, did Dorian, but Mutka just finding enough space to get through, and that is a pretty good move there from Simon Mutka, although Dorian wants to try and get the place back into Vale there, but not going to work out. But yeah, good move there from Simon Mutka, who's of course trying to make his way back through the field after he got damage on lap 1.
Yep, indeed. And of course, he's now on P13. So it's still a long way to go, but not impossible.
Oh, definitely not, as La Rosa continuing to catch up onto Gabriel Gomez. Meanwhile, in fact, Mutka
He's already
continuing the
through.
charge. He's already through into 12th place. That might suggest to me that the fresher tyres around here are quite fast around here at Silverstone with the IndyCar drivers. Either that, or it's just because the fact that they were just Manners and Vipers that Mutka was getting by there. I'm not sure, but either way, it's allowing Milewski now a good opportunity to get a hold of Kratichville here down the Wellington Straight. He's now going to look to the inside of the Czech driver, but it looks like he's just not got enough momentum unless he breaks out a little bit later, which he does. He's on the inside. Has he got the move done? He has indeed. So Milewski up into 13th place there, and taking advantage of when Mutka overtook him as well. We look back now at Gabriel Gomez, as La Rosa is still keeping up with him, but so far not within overtaking range of the Brazilian at the moment.
Yep, Gomez is able to hold that gap stable for the present moment, but you can see that La Rosa is catching. So Kratichville is trying to take the place, but isn't successful.
Yep, not able to do so there, as Milewski went quite defensive.
No, he's safe
not
behind.
able to. Oh, meanwhile, the gap is 12.4 seconds now between the top two. So from the last time we checked, Thomas has actually taken 3/10 out of Volker there, but the gap is still over 12 seconds between the pair of them. So Anderson still needs to dig deep if he wants to really shrink that gap, as it looks like. I think Fosbury's going a little bit defensive here, because I think somebody was trying to overtake him there, but he was able to fend off. I'm going to presume that's Simon Mutka, in fact. Oh, contact between Kratichville and Dorian Milewski. And, well, looks like Milewski's avoided damage for the moment. And it looks like Kratichville has as well. It looks like a typical contact at that part of the track, as they both stay in position, thankfully, but now Stop has caught up to them, and Stop says, thank you very much, I'm taking 14 V's there. But again, more collisions. Oh, Milewski! Oh, I thought for a minute there that he was going to collide with his own teammate there. Thanks to that little aquaplane moment. Clearly the tyre's still cold from that moment there between Kratichville and Milewski. It looks like Kratichville just understeered into him there from the looks of it.
Yeah,
or maybe just aquaplaned himself there, which is a little bit strange. But yeah, that's pretty much that really. And well, that was nearly a heart in your mouth moment there for the Manor mechanics. That nearly ended a disaster there for the two Manor drivers.
Yeah, that was a lucky escape, but also I would say that was a very dirty move there from Kratichville.
Yeah, indeed.
Lucky that both avoided damage.
Yeah, indeed. 12 seconds now is the gap between Volker and Thomas Anderson at the moment. So Thomas Anderson here close down. Meanwhile, we've got a fight for third going on, as La Rosa is now all over the back of Gabriel Gomez as Andretti now then, as La Rosa could sense a podium here at Silverstone as they come out of Beckett's now then, before approaching Chapel now then, as they come down the hangar straight now then, is La Rosa going to get the move done here on on the Andretti now then as they come down the hanger straight now then. He's going to pull to the outside line now then on the racetrack. Coming down the hanger straight we go. Trying to see if he can potentially hang it around the outside, but he can't. Gomez holds on to the place for the moment now then, unless La Rosa can get good traction out of Beckett's, which he can't. Looks like Gomez is going to hold on for the moment, so it looks like he might have to try again down the Wellington Straight. We shall see, although he thought about trying to dive it there into Vale, but it didn't work out there. It was a bit of a half-hearted attempt there, it's fair to say.
Yep. And of course, some of those decks have gone terribly wrong in the past, but luckily not here. Oh, Daniel's trying to do the same.
To pass Tomaselli there down into Vale, didn't work out there. So the two Ferraris having the same sort of idea coming into that corner there. But is La Rosa going to have a go at Gomez very soon? If you look at Thomas Anderson, who's just coming out of turn 4 there. As we look back to the battle for third place between Gomez and La Rosa now then. Coming out of turn 4 there and then approaching Aintree corner. Is La Rosa close enough to go for a move on Gomez down at the Wellington Straight? We shall see. Looks like Gomez might actually have a bit of a gap to La Rosa down at Wellington. Although Gomez is going a little bit defensive there, and rightly so, because he is able to keep the place. So La Rosa wasn't able to get the traction needed to get by on Gomez that time by, but maybe he can try and have a go at him down into Cop's corner. We shall see.
Yep, of course, these two are battling for quite some time. Yeah, of course, in the front, they lost, let's say, 7 seconds, and also to the back, they have a 13-second gap to Wolf. So they pretty much fighting on their own. Yeah.
Yep. As La Rosa wasn't able to get Gomez that time by. Again, opts to go for the outside, heading into Maggots and Beckett. But again, not going to work out, so La Rosa will have to wait. As well, in fact, he got a little bit loose there, so that's going to lose him all the momentum in the world and give Gomez a little bit of a breathing space there. Clearly carrying a little bit too much speed through into Maggots and Beckett's there, whilst I go and change my headphones as they are currently dying at the moment. So just talk for a little bit, Dennis. As I say that, he has a connection issue there, so that was a perfect timing there, Joe. In fact, I think he's now back now. As a stop now, then tries to have a go at Yuri Cratchitfield there. I'll just hold on for the moment, but not close enough on that occasion. And Cratchitfield holds on to the place for the moment. As I was saying, Dennis, just talk for a little bit because my headphones are currently dying at the moment.
Also, in the meantime, Mutka has passed Fosbury for 11th, and so he pulled a 6.6 second gap. But here we have the battle here between the two Manners and the Viper with Cottageville. But yes, now Tomaselli is in the pits. The pit stops are starting. That is a scheduled stop for Tomaselli.
Indeed. As, yeah, I am now back. As got a change of headphones. Also, Patacek is into the pits. Is this also scheduled as well, like with Lorenzo Tomaselli? I'm going to presume
yes.
it is. It is, and let's see if there is a compound change. Just keep an eye on the grooves on those tyres, and no change of compound at the moment. So they're both sticking to the extreme wet tyre at the moment. So no change of compound so far at this stage of the race. So Tomaselli and Patacek sticking on those same compound of tyres at the moment for their scheduled stop. As we now look at, this is Simon Mutka, I think this is, on the back of this is Luca Farina now then. And he's got a pit call this lap, and Mutka takes 10th place of ease. So those fresher tyres he has definitely worked out pretty well, and maybe could benefit Patacek and Tomaselli, who have just finished off their pit stop as Patacek rejoins in 11th place. I think Tomaselli has just rejoined in 8th place in front, so he's clear of those 3 cars, but Patacek has got a bit of traffic in front as a result.
Yep, indeed. The Quattletrail is also now coming into the pits.
So he's also pitted at the end of this lap now then, as Patacek was a little bit impatient there for trying to go for a move into Aintree. 11.7 seconds meanwhile is the gap between Volker and Thomas Anderson at this stage of the race, as La Rosa now 1.2 seconds behind Gomez thanks to that mistake he made going through into Maggots and Beckett's there, which lost him all the momentum on Gomez in front. Patacek not close enough to get through in that time by, but he could potentially have a go at him into Cop's corner very soon now then, as they come out of Love Field now then. Is Patacek going to be close enough to go for the move? It looks like Patacek will be pitting again, so it looks like it will be a 2-stop for him, as Thomas Anderson, the guy in second place, is now into the pits. So Thomas Anderson, who was trying to chase down Volker, is into the pits, and so is La Rosa, as they are scheduled stops, but Anderson's having to wait for La Rosa as a result, so he's been slightly held up by the Ferrari as a result, and well, that's not going to help him out in his chase for Florian Volker in front, but La Rosa also into the pits for Ferrari, maybe trying to see if he can jump Gomez into the pits. 8.2 seconds to pit stop for the Ferrari mechanics now then. So pretty quick for them. As mentioned, Mutka coming into the pits at the end of this lap for Peugeot. As meanwhile, Patacek tries to have a go here. This is Luca Farina now then. As Farina looks like he's going to try and shut the door, which he does. He's entitled to. He doesn't need to give way. So Patacek may have to try and get him on traction. He might try and get him on traction here with the fresher tyres. And look how much grip he's got as a result. And Patacek goes through into 10th place. So a pretty easy move there for the Czech driver to get up into P10. As mentioned, Mutka now into the pits. His teammate Lucien will be pitting at the end of this lap as he's got Tomaselli on fresher tyres chasing him down in behind. Tomaselli looking to try and get some very good points here today in the Carlin. As they now come around the section of corners now then. As now coming out of Aintree corner there as 22.7 seconds of the gap between Volker and Gomez. The Andrettis have still yet to make the pit stop so far in this race. But of course they are expected to pit very, very soon now then. As Tomaselli has still not been able to find a way through on I think this is who is this in front? That's Lucien at the moment, as who's obviously pitting at the end of this lap. And so Tomaselli, can he get by into Copse corner? He's got a run on the Peugeot driver. Can he get the run into Copse corner now then? Down the inside he goes, and
yes,
he thought about it, but no, he wasn't able to fully commit there, and has to hang back as a result. And of course, let's not forget Lucien is pitting at the end of this lap. As meanwhile, Daniel is chasing down Adam Wolff at the moment. The Pyramid and the Ferrari fighting out. As I don't think Daniel is pitted just yet, has he? Because La Rosa is right behind him, so Daniel is still yet to make his pit stop. As Tomaselli now then, would he get a run on Alex-Eric Lucien here down the Hanger Straight? He's going to go to the inside line as Lucien's not giving him too much run. As no contact there, and Lucien is out of the race. Out of the race there. A typical contact at I had to think of the corner there. Stowe corner as oh, that's that then. A huge crash for Alex-Eric Lucien. He's out of the race, and Tomaselli's race has been ruined as a result. Clearly a bit of impatience there for the Italian driver.
Yeah, he did not have to make the move. He didn't. I'm pretty sure he knew that Lucien was about to pit. Yeah, I had was about to say some fears about the crash at the pit entry, but they crashed into Stowe.
Indeed so, as La Rosa tries to find a way through on Adam Wolff there. Farina, meanwhile, into the pits for Chip Ganassi. As now they come around the right-hander. Of course, let's not forget, La Rosa does have a 10-second time penalty for that collision he had with Julius Anderson at Maggots, which, of course, led to Anderson dropping back and then later on crashing out with Yuri Gabriel, of course. But we're down to 15 runners now as a result of Lucien's retirement. A big crash there for the Frenchman. La Rosa now, can he get Wolff into Copse corner? Thinks about it, but thinks better of it. So Wolff again holding on to the place. Wolff not pitting just yet in the Pyramid as he now approaches the Pyramid now then through into Maggots and Beckett's now then. The yellows have now been lifted at Stowe corner as Volker is now into the pits for Andretti. So Florian Volker now into the pits for his scheduled stop now then. So the race leader is now in as Thomas Anderson has passed Gomez on seen by the cameras. Gomez is still yet to pit, but Thomas Anderson has got through with fresher tyres there. So he's got by on Gomez before the pit stop there. As La Rosa now on the inside of Adam Wolff. This should be an easy move as the skies are getting brighter, and that's P4 for Francesco La Rosa on the road. That is because, of course, he does have a penalty. But as mentioned, Anderson has passed Gomez on seen by the cameras, but Volker should still emerge in the lead of the race, which he is going to do. But Anderson is a lot more closer to him as a result of that because of the fresher tyres that Thomas Anderson has been on. But Volker crucially in the lead, and because he's got fresher tyres, he should be able to pull away, you would imagine, from Thomas Anderson as his teammate Gabriel Gomez is coming into the pits at the end of this lap.
Yep, Gomez in, but yeah, of course, with these fresher tyres, Anderson was able to cut the gap down to that gap is not really representative. It was 2.8 seconds. I think it was on the graphic. Just saw that.
Yeah, I think that just shows how much Anderson is getting with those fresher tyres, as Wolf is struggling a bit through into that corner, and Daniel is now starting to gain on him as a result. But Volker still leads the way after the pit stops, and the question is, will he be able to pull away from Thomas Anderson as a result now then, as they make their way towards Copse Corner now then? Now into the right-hander we will go on the racetrack. Coming out of Copse we go, as now approaching Maggotts and Beckett. So Gomez, as mentioned, is coming into the pit at the end of this lap now then. As now we look at Delebosch Daniel now then, who's now coming up towards Adam Wolf. As now approaching Copse Corner, we will soon approach, and yet Volker's now got the gap up to 2.9 seconds between himself and Thomas Anderson. Wolf still not pitting, and he's still struggling on those sets of tyres, is the Pyramid Racing driver. Zeta Martinez now into the pits for Meyer Shank Racing, as is Jared Fosbury for Chip Ganassi Racing. As mentioned, Gomez now then coming into the pits for Andretti. La Rosa is going to be clear of him as a result, and he will be officially third, I would think, because of that 10-second time penalty that he's got. So, anyway, as now coming down the hanger straight, as Wolf still going defensive compared to Daniel. He's not letting the Hungarian go that easily now then, but let's see if Daniel can possibly get him on traction coming out the corner. It looks like he's got better traction compared to Adam Wolf, but he hasn't been able to get the move done. He's going to try and dive bomb it into Vale Corner, and that is a brilliant move there from Delebosch Daniel to get up into 5th place. Wolf definitely struggling on those tyres, Dennis.
Yeah, and he cannot wait to get these tires off him and put new on, because he is absolutely struggling, as you said. Yeah, that was a great move. That Daniels, actually both are pitting at the end of this lap.
Gomez, meanwhile, rejoins in 6th place after his pit stop, so he rejoins behind those two. But of course, he's already made his pit stop, so we shouldn't need to worry too much about those two. Although I do think he might catch up to Wolf very quickly, given how much he's struggling on them tyres at the moment. So he's clearly having more degradation than what Delebosch Daniel is having. And speaking of which, he's already right with them as a result. He might even get one of them down the Wellington Straight now. Then as Gomez pulls to the inside of Adam Wolf now, then doesn't give Wolf any chance to defend the place, and looks like Gomez has already got the overlap into Brooklyn's corner, and Gomez up into 5th place with the fresher tyres. Now can he get a hold of Delebosch Daniel in front as he now make their way through into Lovefield? Delebosch Daniel also on very old tyres. You see how much Delebosch is crawling around Lovefield as well, but clearly his tyres are a little bit better than what Adam Wolf's is, hence why he was able to pass him into Vale Corner a little bit earlier on. But now Gomez might actually try and get him into Copse Corner as a result. Gomez on the inside. Can he get the move done on the Ferrari driver? And he most certainly can. Gomez, pretty easy for him, gets by on both of those drivers as a result, who are both, of course, pitting at the end of this lap. But yeah, it just shows the difference really between very worn tyres and very fresh tyres around here at Silverstone.
Yeah, that is true indeed. If you are on very old tyres, that is very much a problem. But also the gap now between the top two is almost 5 seconds again.
Yep, indeed, Volker with the fresher tyres starting to pull away as a result. As meanwhile, as mentioned, these two are going to be coming into the pits at the end of this lap now then. So both Daniel, so this will essentially be a pit stop battle really, and I think Pyramid have got the garage advantage here, because of course they finished ahead of Ferrari in the Constructors last season, so I think Wolf might have an advantage here on Daniel.
Yep, let's see. Also, I'm interested to see how much fuel they are taking.
Yeah, indeed, because Wolf is wondering whether or not he's on a one-stop or not. Same with Delebosch Daniel as well. And no, he's not. He's got to pit again. Same with Delebosch Daniel. Looks like they're going quite long into their stint, but at least they're now on fresher tyres. And has Wolf got the jump on Delebosch Daniel meanwhile? Because, of course, he does have garage advantage. The answer to that is yes. So Wolf is back ahead of Delebosch Daniel as a result. And now he's got the same sort of tyres as Daniel. And given you would imagine that the Pyramid is a faster car than the Ferrari, he might be able to pull away, we shall see. But it looks like he's going to emerge right behind Marit Patacek here in the McLaren. So Patacek is up into 5th place. I think he's already pitted, hasn't he, as Patacek? So technically he has jumped Wolf as a result. But let's not forget, Wolf has got fresher tyres, so you would imagine he'd be able to catch up with him pretty quickly.
Yeah, also one thing, who isn't far off these guys is Mutka. He has shown a very great fight back through the field, of course, with the early stop and the very fresh tyres. Yeah, he's having great fight back at the moment.
Indeed so, as Volker now they're making his way through Vale and the double right-hander of Club as Gillum Stop now comes into the pit as for Manor. 6.1 seconds now the gap between Volker and Thomas Anderson. So Volker continuing to stretch that lead out in front now then. As Volker now they're making his way into the first few turns on the racetrack as we ride on board with Francesco La Rosa in the Ferrari now then. As he now comes down towards Vale and the double right-hander of Club Corner he will soon approach. As Stop looks like he's going to emerge in 14th place ahead of Martinez, who in fact is now a lap down from Florian Volker. So, yep, Stop rejoins in 14th. Not been the best of races for Rosetta Martinez here today in the Meyershank. We ride on board with La Rosa, who I think is now in third position. And because of the, let's see, because he's currently officially in third position, of course, because let's not forget, he does have that 10-second time penalty, does La Rosa. But I would imagine with Gomez on fresher tyres, he's going to be eating that gap as contact between Wolf and Patacek there. Patacek has lost half his front wing. Wolf getting impatient, and Daniel says, thank you very much. I take that place with ease there.
Oh, where's he going?
Patacek is struggling to get into the pit, but thankfully is able to there. But more contact down at Stoke Corner thanks to the wet conditions.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Patacek, he has suffered some front wing damage, so he has to make an unscheduled stop. But no, which would be interesting, is he going to the end?
We shall see, of course, as his new front wing is there. Will he, in fact, go to the end of the race? We shall see, as hopefully we get a look at the cockpit, if we can, to see if he is going to go to the end of the race now then. So this has been an unscheduled stop for him. It says 14 laps there, so no, he's going to have to pit quite late on in the race. I don't know what McLaren is thinking there. Surely it would have been better to fuel him to the end of the race, but clearly McLaren having other ideas there.
Yeah, that's, I would say, not very much understandable, but in the end, he would have a lot fresher tires. So maybe they know something that we don't.
Perhaps, perhaps not. Only time will tell, of course, as now we look back at Florian Volker, who continues to lead the race out in front. He's coming up to some traffic that he's got to lap. I think a little bit of a battle that's going on in front of him there, so he'll have to have some traffic that he'll need to deal with at the moment. He's already lapped one car today, and it's a battle in Kratichville and Jared Fosbury, who are currently fighting for 11th position, meanwhile, as now they make their way through into turns 4 and 5 now then. On the racetrack now then, and is Fosbury going to get a run on Kratichville down the Wellington Straight? It looks like he is going to get a run. He's on much fresher tyres, I think, than Kratichville. I could be wrong on that one, but it looks like he might get the move done pretty easily down the Wellington Straight, and it looks like Thomas Anderson's also going to have to deal with some traffic as Fosbury does get by Kratichville, but Volker has now got himself right involved with this, and he's getting held up by these two as a result. In fact, Kratichville might actually get Fosbury back through into Lovefield here. Looks like Kratichville trying to let Volker go here, and it looks like he's finally going to give him the space to go through, but Volker is definitely not going to be happy with this traffic.
No, he would definitely not be happy with that. He's probably shouting blue flag in his cockpit to his
indeed.
mechanics.
I think the fact that he's got a Sebastian Vettel helmet might help with that cause as well, but finally he gets by. But Volker, I definitely think he's not going to be happy with that bit of traffic there as he comes around Beckett's now then. He will go. We look at La Rosa now then. Now, has Gomez now got the gap to under 10 seconds? Because that could technically mean he's up in third place as a result, as Thomas Anderson now puts a lap on, I think that was Dorian Milewski there. He just put a lap on there. But yeah, that's that really, as Fosbury and Kratichville in front continue to scrap it out for what is 11th place at the moment, as Kratichville tried to get him back on traction there, and I think he might have actually done it, in fact. So, in fact, no, he hasn't. That was the camera being a little bit deceiving there, and Kratichville actually has to stay behind, and rudely, it doesn't give us the gaps underneath, which is not ideal. I kind of wanted to see what the gaps are like between the whole pack, but it's only just showing how many pit stops everybody has done, which is a little bit rude, but there we are. But anyway, now it's Thomas Anderson's turn to deal with that traffic that Volker had to deal with a little bit earlier on. As he still tries his best to see if he can keep up with Volker. I will be interested to see who's going to be pitting first out of Volker and Thomas when it comes to their second stop, as Kratichville looks like he's getting out of the way of Thomas Anderson, although he is. It's a bit awkward for Thomas Anderson to get by around the outside, but he does get through in the end there then, although a little bit awkwardly, it's fair to say. But yeah, that's pretty much that, and it's allowed Milevski to catch up to Kratichville as a result. 5.1 seconds of the gap, so it shows how much Volker lost whilst he had to lap all that traffic that was around him. 8.8 seconds is a gap between LaRosa and Gomez, meanwhile, so Gomez has now got it under 10 seconds, so he's officially in third place, but I bet knowing Gomez, he'll want to get him on the track rather than via a penalty.
Yeah, but indeed, that's of course everyone's aim to overtake someone on the racetrack and not because of a time penalty. But yeah, now let's see if Anderson can get the gap down. Of course, he has to. I think he has gone through the traffic already. So for him, it was quite a lot easier than for Volker.
And just going to try to take a look at the championship at the moment, what it would mean for the Drivers' Championship at the moment, with Anderson out of the race. I can tell you, for a fact, that Gomez would actually take the lead in the championship at the moment if it were to stay like this, because he's officially up in third place now because of LaRosa's penalty. So if it were to stay like this, and with Anderson out of the race, Gomez will actually take the lead in the Drivers' Championship in the Andretti. So it'll be the first time that a non-Penske driver would actually lead the championship this season, which will be, I think, for some people, quite a pleasant surprise there. So Gomez will lead the championship at the moment if it were to stay like this, but we've still got a long way to go, and if it could still happen in this race, because we have so far seen quite a lot of chaos in this race, so things could still change at this point.
Yep, things will definitely change over the next 15 laps for sure. Of course, we still have the second round of pit stops coming. Now Wolf is trying to make a move from Mutka here, and he's through quite easily.
Trying to make amends after that collision he had with Marat Patacek a little bit earlier on, as now we've got the two Manners now trying to gang up on Yuri Kratichville in front. Both Stopp and Milevski have both caught up to Kratichville here, as Milevski now then looks to the inside of Kratichville. Stopp watch on as a bit of a spectator, although he's getting some very nice slipstream from Kratichville, but Milevski gets on the inside of Kratichville and he's through into 12th position. Stopp trying to follow through as well with the extra grip he's got, maybe trying to hang it around the outside into Luffield with the extra amount of grip he's got compared to Kratichville. Around the outside he goes. Has he got the move done on the Viper driver? And yes, you know what? He has. So he's been able to use the extra grip to good effect, and he's up into 13th place. Now he'll go after his teammate Milevski in front.
Yep, and I would say that was perfect for Manor, of course, after that collision from Milevski with Kratichville. Yeah. Now Wolf is up to 6th.
He's just passed Tomaselli there into the first corner, so up into 6th place goes Adam Wolf, and now Mutka wants to take full advantage if he can on Tomaselli. He's going to dive it down the inside into Shannon there, but wasn't able to get the move completely done there, so Tomaselli holds on to the place for the moment now then, but Mutka, if he's got enough traction with the fresher grip, he might be able to get a run at him down onto the Wellington Straight. He looks like he is going to have a go. Coming out of Aintree now then, down the Wellington Straight, we will go. Mutka on the inside of Lorenzo Tomaselli as they go side by side, down towards Brooklyn's corner now then. Down the inside he goes, and Mutka now then is up into 7th position. So that's P7 for Simon Mutka there. So the gap now, 7.8 seconds between Volker and Thomas Anderson at this stage of the race, as Gomez now in 6.9 seconds behind LaRosa. Meanwhile, in fact, I think that's just him. Yes, he's just put a lap there on Rosetta Martinez, as you now can see LaRosa just right there, as he's trying to use the fresher tyres to his advantage. I know he's officially ahead of him on the road, but as I just alluded to earlier, with Dennis, of course, Gomez, I think, will want to get him on the track rather than get him up via a time penalty. But of course, as mentioned, if things stay as it is, Gomez will take the lead in the Drivers' Championship.
Yep, indeed, it will be delightful for Gomez, of course, but definitely not for Penske, who has had the terrible beginning of the race, which saw the end for both drivers. Now Stopp is making the move from Milevski for 12th here.
He's got it done. Stopp up into 12th position, so a change there between the two Manor drivers, and Stopp up into 12th position. So that's good for him, as don't know who his next target is going to be. We'll have to look on the timing screen underneath a little bit
I think it's Fosbury.
Let's quickly double check that, and it will be Fosbury next, but I'm not sure what the gap is like between those two now then, as Tomaselli now continues to lose time to Simon Mutka in front at the moment. As we've got 14 laps to go here at Silverstone, and we've still got a second round of pit stops to still go through, with some leaving their pit stops towards the back end of the race. So it should still be quite crazy when we get into the second round of pit stops.
Yep, indeed. I would say for the guys who will pit first, they have the advantage earlier on, but in the stint. But the guys who will pit later will definitely have the advantage until the end of the race.
Indeed, so Farina currently holding on to a points place, as it looks like. In fact, somebody's trying to either overtake or lap themselves there. Not sure. There was somebody on the inside there, Farina. Was that his own teammate Fosbury? No, it wasn't. It was Volker. It was Volker putting a lap on him there. So it shows how quick Volker's been today in these wet conditions. And he's now lapped the guy who's currently holding on to the final points place, that being Luca Farina, as Thomas Anderson will soon be coming up to lap Farina very soon, you would imagine, as well. Coming out of turn 4 and then into turn 5 at Aintree. We will soon be approaching there as Cratchitsville looking a bit lonely in 14th place, but I guess not as lonely as Rosetta Martinez, who's really struggling down in 15th position at the moment. Just looking at the gap, it is currently 5.5 seconds, I think, now between La Rosa and Gomez on the racetrack. As meanwhile, Tomaselli continuing to lose time to Mutka, meanwhile, in their fight. But it looks like Tomaselli might actually come under pressure from Marat Patacek very soon. So it looks like we could have a fight for 8th place brewing very soon in this race, as we now ride on board with Florian Volker in the Andretti now. Then he makes his way through into Maggots and then into Beckett's corner. He will soon go towards now, then flicking it in for the left and then into the right-hander now. Then we will go, as now going around Chapel. Will go Volker as he now heads down the hangar straight now. Then let's see the gap now then between himself and Anderson, or not, because the camera once again being very rude to us. How nice. As now coming around the Copse corner now then goes La Rosa, as he's currently got a 5.2 second cushion to Gabriel Gomez's Andretti at the moment. I think that was just in there in the background that just loomed into view coming out of Copse corner there. But looks like Farina is having a moment going through into Vale, but luckily was able to get the car stopped in time as the gold and black Chip Ganassi car tries its best to hold on to this solitary point at the moment with 15 runners left in this race, as now 12 laps to go for race leader Florian Volker here at Silverstone. As now we come towards the final, the first few turns there for Luca Farina in the Chip Ganassi racing car, as you can see the spray continuing to kick off the back of these cars at the moment. I did think that the rain was easing, but clearly not. The rain is still around, so the blue skies that we saw a little bit earlier on in the race might have been a little bit of a false alarm.
Yep. Indeed, I think new cloud covers has been sent to the track. You understand? Actually, the track is looking even wetter than before. As Volker's coming in.
Volker coming in for his second stop, so he's actually pitting before Anderson, actually. So, that could be quite interesting come the end of the race, because it would mean that Anderson will be on much fresher tyres than what he is. Meanwhile, stop on the inside of Fosbury, meanwhile, and he's got the move done. He has. Up into 11th place goes the Frenchman now, then, and he's just one place away from the points. Is Guillaume Stop, as the next target will be the other Chip Ganassi of Luca Farina, who's just made his way out of Copse corner there. As meanwhile, Tomaselli now into the pits for his final pit stop. Now the question is, will there be a compound change or not? Because we did see on the weather forecast there was a chance of a compound change, maybe to normal wet tyres. But we will wait and see how that. You just need to keep an eye on the grooves like last time at Interlagos to find out if there is a change of compound or not. Because let's see now then, as now coming into the box now then goes Lorenzo Tomaselli now then. Let's see, do the grooves change or not? And the answer to that is no, they don't. So they're still extreme wets then for Lorenzo Tomaselli. Is that going to be the same case for Volker, who's now just come into the pits now then? So Thomas Anderson will take the lead temporarily now then, as Volker now then into the pits for Andretti, as he now trundles his way into the pit lane now then, as the German driver pulls into his box. So let's see how quick this stop is going to be then from the Andretti mechanics. Any change here? Nope, he's still sticking onto the extreme wets as well. No changes there for him now then. And let's see how long the stop is. 7.2 seconds from the Andretti mechanics. As let's see where he's going to emerge then. A stop, and Fosbury also coming to the pits. Just after stop obviously overtook Fosbury, of course. Let's not forget. La Rosa staying out, as will Gomez as well, because of course his teammate is only just pitted. But Volker should still emerge in second place, I think, because he had the top two had a very big gap to both La Rosa and Gomez before the pit stop. So that's pretty much happened. Yet Volker rejoins in second place, so he's still within the top two at the moment. But it'd be interesting to see what happens with Thomas Anderson when he makes his final stop of the race, and how quickly he could potentially catch up to Volker. So we could have a race on our hands still here, Dennis.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we could still race here, but for now, Volker will definitely put the hammer down, and will definitely close the gap by a lot because of the fresh tires.
Indeed so, as now Volker just comes around Lovefield corner now then. He just comes out of Lovefield before making his way around Woodcote now then, as the gap, 9.6 seconds with the gap after his pit stop there, although I think it wouldn't surprise me if he reduced it a bit after Sector 1 there, but it is 9.6 between the two of them. Of course, Anderson's still yet to make his second and final stop of the race. So we look at La Rosa now then, who's just coming out of Lovefield corner now then, as he now comes around Woodcote, as now coming down the support pit straight. There is Gomez. He's not that far behind him now then, as he's just come out of Woodcote corner now then through to Copse. Goes the Italian, as now Gomez continues to chase him down and try and see if he can pass him on the racetrack rather than just taking advantage of a time penalty. As now through into Stowe corner goes Volker there. So now Martinez getting lapped there by Delay Bosch Daniel, and it's giving Cratchittville an opportunity to pounce on Martinez, who's just been struggling throughout this entire race now then. So now coming out of the turn we will go. It looks like, in fact, because he's down in 15th, I think Vosbury actually re-overtook him in the pits there due to gouge advantage, and Vosbury was able to get back ahead of Cratchittville. So it looks like Dennis is once again having connection issues, as Wolf now then as coming into the pits at the end of this lap for Pyramid Racing, as Dennis is now rejoined us once again. As now Volker puts a lap on Luca Farina once again with 10 laps to go in this race. Anderson still not pitting, but he's not too far away from Florian Volker here, so Volker could actually pass Anderson before Thomas even makes his second pit stop here.
Yeah, that would be absolutely a big advantage for Volker here. And I actually think that, oh, look at this. He's
just set a purple first sector as Florian Volker, and he could be looking at another fastest lap here.
Yeah, indeed. No, it really, I think Volker is the favorite at the moment. But let's see what Anderson can do after he makes his pit stop. I think the gap could be too big at the end.
Meanwhile, Adam Wolf is now into the pits for Pyramid Racing, so he's in for his second and final stop of the race. As now through into Maggots and Beckett's goes Volker, as he continues to chase down Anderson, who is on older tyres now as a result. And now through into Beckett's corner we go on the racetrack, and he's right with Anderson as a result. He might even get him into a stow here. In fact, he's going to go around the outside, which he will have to grip for. 1.1 seconds up on his personal best in the middle sector there for Florian Volker with the fresher grip. Can he hang it around the outside of Thomas Anderson? Around the outside goes Volker.
Yes.
And there you have it. Volker back into the lead of the race, and when Anderson makes his pit stop, he's going to have a huge advantage at the front to hopefully be enough to win the race, of course, when Anderson has fresher tyres.
Yeah, indeed. That is, as mentioned before, the time for Volker to push like a madman. And now he's definitely has pushed like a madman, because he was set the fastest lap of the race.
Even with the overtake on Thomas Anderson, he sets another fastest lap. And speaking of which, Thomas Anderson will be pitting at the end of this lap.
Look at this, he lost 7 seconds.
Yeah, he's really struggling now on those tyres, as Anderson will be pitting at the end of this lap. Meanwhile, Gomez and La Rosa are now close together with each other now. Then both of them are still yet to make their final stops of the race, just as the Dorian Malevsky now then comes into the pits. But Gomez is all over the back of La Rosa here, as he now comes down the pit straight now. Then is he going to get him into Abbey Corner now? Then let's see. In the slipstream now then of La Rosa, he's going to go to the inside of Abbey. Gomez is actually pitting at his lap. So is La Rosa. Down the inside goes Gomez into the first corner. He tries to have a go, but he can't make it work. But maybe he's going to have to wait for Wellington Straight as, well, stop coming out of nowhere there in the manner. He's trying to unlap himself here at the expense of Gomez, which he does do, in fact. So Gomez is not going to be particularly happy about this one unless he also helps out here. Gomez trying to lap stop here as a result of that. But Gomez is not going to be happy about that, because that's wrecked any chance he's got of potentially passing La Rosa down the Wellington Straight there, as he now relaps him as a result. But yeah, Gomez is not going to be very happy with the Frenchman there.
Yeah, definitely not. And yeah, that's of course, he's entitled to unlap himself with that amount of fresher tires, but still, yeah, that's yes. As I was saying, he's entitled to do that.
Yeah, as now Wolf is now going to breeze past here. That looks like Simon Mutka. He's going by there, and it is with the fresher tyres. Wolf gets back up into 6th position there as he gets through into Abbey Corner. La Rosa has mentioned his pitting, but so is Gabriel Gomez. He's not too far behind him either. So looks like with garage advantage, Gomez might actually have the opportunity to jump La Rosa in the pits.
Yeah, maybe, but maybe
Now,
Ferrari could do a fast pit stop, which isn't, to be honest, words you won't hear a lot in the same sentence.
Thomas Anderson is now into the pits for Pyramid, as we'll see both La Rosa and Gomez now make their way into the pits, as Gomez already flicking to the right side with La Rosa, and they're now both into the pit. And you would imagine with garage advantage, Gomez might have the upper hand here on La Rosa.
Yep. Let's see.
Thomas Anderson should still emerge in 2nd place, and for him, he's really got to dig deep if he wants any chance of getting his first victory of the season, and his first victory since 2020 when he was in GP2, of course. But yeah, that's that really. As in fact, sorry, 2019. Yeah, I was going to say that. I got the years mixed up. But anyway, no compound change for Gomez, no compound change for La Rosa. And as expected, Gomez gets the jump on him in the pit. So Gomez back at La Rosa. He didn't need to anyway because of the penalty. But Gomez is now on track in 3rd position. Although Daniel is going to go through. But I think Daniel, is he still yet to pit? I think he is still yet to pit if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think he has one stop left.
He's pitting at the end of this lap anyway, so that already answers that question. So anyway, so Daniel will be pitting in this lap, so Gomez will assume 3rd place again once Daniel makes his final stop of the race now then. But yeah, that's that really. As now we ride on board with, this is Dorian Milewski we're currently riding on board with, who's on the back of Yui Kratichville once again. 27.6 seconds is the amount of time that Thomas has got to find if he wants any chance of winning this race. We know how quick the fresher tyres are around here, but I think that's still going to be a lot of a task for Anderson to close down with 6 and a bit laps as Milewski gets the move done there on Kratichville through into Brooklands and into Lovefield there. But yeah, that's going to be a bit of an ask, I think, for Thomas Anderson to really eat into that gap.
Yeah, of course, he will gain time, but it won't be enough.
Indeed, as now we look back at Florian Volker, who's now making his way into the first couple of corners now there on the racetrack with the 27-second gap he's got over Thomas Anderson, as Gomez is actually, well, he's in 4th, of course, because Delebosch Daniel is pitting. He's just actually negotiating traffic, and so will Francesco La Rosa very soon in the Ferrari. There he is. He's just, he's actually just coming up now to the back of Yui Kratichville. There then. As meanwhile, unseen by the cameras, Patacek has now just overtaken Simon Mutka for P8, so Mutka clearly struggling at the moment, as now La Rosa gets by on Kratichville, although I don't think he's too happy with Kratichville blocking him there at the exit of Chapel as well. There might have been contact there between the Milewski and Gomez, because it looked like Gomez got a little bit loose going through into Stowe Corner there, but thankfully it didn't end in disaster as he finally puts a lap there on Milewski. But yeah, that's that. As oh, La Rosa, that was a little bit risky there for the Ferrari driver, clearly getting impatient, trying to lap the manner there as his teammate Delebosch Daniel comes into the pit. So Gomez will reclaim 3rd place as a result of that. But yeah, that's that, as La Rosa still having trouble trying to lap these guys, and Kratichville with fresher tyres might try and get back in front, and he does. La Rosa is not going to be happy about this one bit.
Yeah, these will definitely be angry about these back markers here, but of course if they're faster, they can pass him if they pull away, but it doesn't seem like it, so yeah, La Rosa will lap them with ease, I would say.
Indeed, as my dog just decided to walk into the room there. Dog commentator, by the way. But anyway, as now through into Vale and the double right-hander of Club Corner there, as now Volker continues to lead the way. I wonder how much Thomas Anderson is gaining by, though.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see. We still have the pit stops at the graphic. Go away, pit stops, we want to see the gaps.
The graphics being very rude there, it's fair to say, once again, not giving us the information we want, which is the gap between first and second, really. But still, it's a long gap for Thomas Anderson, the game down with 6 laps remaining here at Silverstone. As now Volker just comes out of Aintree now. Then as Anderson, look at that, he sets the fastest lap of the race. So he now holds on to the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. As Anderson is gaining onto him there. The gap is 24.5 seconds, the gap. So, yeah, I think that's still too much to ask. But Anderson does hold on to the fastest lap as Luca Farina and the Chip Ganassi comes into the pits.
Yep, Farina in. Well, it will be interesting to see if he's ahead of Stop. But I think Farina will be front, and if not, he will definitely overtake him very easily because he has the faster car and the fresher tires. The Stop is in front.
Stop currently in the points right now in the Manor, so he's currently holding on to the final points place. So Manor could actually pick up a point here if they're lucky. As Patacek with very worn tyres is pitting at the end of this lap, just as Florian Volker puts a lap on him there. But yeah, whether he can hold on to that final points place, we'll have to wait and see. Because as you mentioned, Dennis, of course, Farina is going to be on fresher tyres and will be hunting down to try and get that final points place by the end of the race.
Yeah, but for Farina, I think it's even difficult task because Forsby is also between them. So let's see how that one goes. It will be very interesting to see at the end. Gap 23.2 between the top two.
Indeed, as Marat Patacek in the McLaren is now into the pits for his final stop. Mutka now moves up into 8th place. As a result of that, would Stop move up to 9th, or is he a little bit too far behind Patacek? I'm not sure, but 5 laps to go for the race leader, Florian Volker, as Dalebush Daniel now then puts a lap on Yuri Kratichville there. As it looks like it's going to be some very good points for Ferrari, regardless of La Rosa's time penalty. Although I do wonder what the gap is like between the two Ferrari drivers, whether or not Daniel can actually get it to under 10 seconds between his teammate or not and gain an extra place as a result. But we shall wait and see, of course. As now we continue to ride on board with the race leader, Florian Volker, with 5 laps to go. Here at Silverstone, the gap 22.4 seconds now between himself and Thomas Anderson. As now Gomez...
The gap between the two Ferraris is under 10 seconds. I just saw that.
So Daniel is officially in 4th place at the moment. So at the moment, La Rosa is going to be dropping down to 5th place at the moment with his 10-second time penalty. So that's that, really. So basically, the two Ferraris will just be swapping places at the moment if it stays like this. As Volker just comes out of Cop's corner now, then before approaching Maggots and Beckett. As now through the left, through the right, then into the left and right we go now on the racetrack, as he hopes that and prays that he's got enough of a gap to stay in front of Thomas Anderson by the end of the race here at Silverstone. So far I think it's looking good for him, but you never know, of course. Anything could happen in racing, and it usually just as long as Volker doesn't make any mistakes whatsoever. The gap 22.1 seconds between the top two at the moment here.
Yeah, Volker currently has this under control. You know, Daniel has to lap a Manor, I think.
It is a Manor, as that is Dorian Malevsky just put a lap on there. But yeah, Patacek rejoined in 9th after his pit stop there, so he's still in the points. Whether he can chase down Simon Mutka before the end of the race, we'll have to wait and see. 4 laps to go for Florian Volker here at Silverstone. He's on lap 33 of 36 here at Silverstone. Meanwhile, Farina on the inside of Fosbury, and that's P11 for Luca Farina right there. But whereabouts is Stop on the racetrack, who's currently holding on to that final points place. He's just coming out of Beckett's now then. So that's the gap that Farina's got to gain if he wants to get that final points place by the end of the race here at Silverstone. And, well, Gomez has got to lap Stop first, though, unless Farina tries to unlap himself. But maybe Gomez, if he's lapping slower than Farina, might actually do Stop a bit of a favour and maybe hold up the Italian. But we will wait and see on that one, really. As we look at the positions gained, Daniel gaining 9 positions from his original grid spot, starting down in 14th, so a good recovery for him. 5 places for Tomaselli, 5 places for Mutka, 8 places for Stop at the moment, if you can hold on to that final points place. Patacek drops 1 place, but he might be gaining on to Mutka, we shall see. 2 places lost for Gomez after starting on pole, 4 places gained for Thomas Anderson, and 2 places gained for Florian Volker in this race, and of course 1 place gained at the moment for La Rosa, but it will be 0 because of his penalty, so Daniel will actually gain 10 places if it were to stay like this. If you look now at Thomas Anderson in the pyramid now, then he's coming up actually now to lap Marat Patacek in the McLaren, or trying to at least, although I do think Patacek's on fresher tyres, so he might actually pull away from him. We'll wait and see on that as De La Rosa now then tries to lap Jared Fosbury as Chip Ganassi trying to go around the outside of it, which I think he will do, and he does do with ease there, but yeah, that was that really, as La Rosa had a little bit of difficulty there trying to lap. That was actually Luca Farina, in fact, he lapped. I do apologise. So Farina already getting lapped by a car before he even has a chance to chase down Gillum Stop at the moment now then. So Stop has just got to hope and pray that all of these leaders around him do enough to potentially hold off Farina and get 1 point for Manor here today.
Yeah, 1 point for Manor would be absolutely crucial for them in the season, because they don't have lots of opportunities to gain these points.
Yeah,
like it was last season.
Yep, really, and given the race we've had, this might be that you never know. It could be the only chance they might have of getting points. You never know, of course. We don't know how the rest of the season is going to play out, as Thomas Anderson now puts a lap on Marit Patacek there in the McLaren. So clearly Anderson having more pace than Patacek, although Patacek thought about unlapping him there, but thought better of it in the end there then, as it looks like time is pretty much running out for him to try and win this race from Florian Volker, as now they come around that corner, as Volker's actually coming out of the exit of Luffield Corner now then, as he's still trying to negotiate his way around traffic here. As Silverstone, the rain still around on the circuit, as Daniel puts a lap on Jared Fosbury there, and he'll soon put a lap on the Luca Farina very soon, which could really help Stop. We'll have to wait and see, of course, as now coming out of Club Corner, we will go now then on the racetrack. As then now we look at Gomez. He's looking pretty settled in third place, although I think, safe to say, Dennis, I think he'll be a little bit disappointed that he didn't have the pace that he had in Interlagos.
Yeah, but he will be happy nonetheless that he takes the podium, and of course, with these bonus points for pole, he of course will take the lead in the standings. I think he will be even happier with that achievement.
Yeah, indeed, at the moment he will lead the championship by 2 points if it were to stay like this, as Volker puts a lap there on Lorenzo Tomaselli. So in fact he's lapped all the way up till, I think that's up to 6th place there. So so he hasn't lapped anybody in the top 5 just yet. So that's pretty much that really. Now then, we have a look at what the rest of the pack is going, as I just let my dog out of my room there. I do apologise. But anyway, as we now look at this, who is this? This is Simon Mutka, I think this is. Or is that... Yeah, that will be Simon
It was Mutka. Right on the back of Tomaselli, by the way.
Yep, so they're fighting for 7th place. In fact, it's the top 6 that Volker has not lapped yet. So apologies for that. As Mutka tries his best to gain onto Tomaselli by the end of the race now then. As now they come down the Wellington Straight now, then we go. Tomaselli going a bit defensive there on Mutka, but Mutka was not close enough to go for the move there into Brooklyn's corner. As they now make their way around Luffield now then on the racetrack. As now coming out of the corner we will go before making his way towards Woodcote now then. Is he going to line up Tomaselli for a pass into Copse Corner? Let's see. He's lining up the Italian. Out of Woodcote we go then. Down to the Port Pit Straight. He's going to go to the inside line. Is Mutka going to get 7th place over Lorenzo Tomaselli? And yes, he is. Mutka up into 7th place. And that's some more points there for the Polish driver.
Yep, indeed. That has been a brilliant fight back after suffering damage early on from Mutka back into 7th, which is a very decent result for him and his team.
Yes, indeed, as Gomez now just comes out of Aintree Corner now then, as he's looking pretty content now to be in 3rd position right now. The gap currently 4.3 seconds, not going to matter anyway because La Rosa has got a penalty in this race, but he's still continuing to pull away. Regardless though, Anderson, he is gaining onto Volker, but I think it's too little too late. Unless something happens to Volker now, I think it's pretty much, he'll have to settle, I think, for 2nd place. But I think he will still push regardless though, just in case anything happens, of course. But yeah, that's that really. As meanwhile, Florian Volker, who's just lapped Rosetta Martinez there, has just started the final lap here at Silverstone. And, well, it's safe to say, Dennis, we had the old Florian Volker here today.
Yeah, indeed. It's just been an absolute dominating performance in the red by Florian Volker. Yes, as you said in our little chat, he brought back his 2018 form. Hopefully, we will see it many more times in the season.
Indeed so. Of course, the last time that he won, of course, was obviously the 2020 Indy 500, I believe it was. But
Yes,
the last
indeed.
time he won in a... Last time he won a race in a championship capacity, I think you'd have to go back to when he was in the top class, because I don't think he ever won a race in DTM, if I'm not mistaken. So that would have to be the 2018 Japanese Grand Prix, if I am not wrong on that one. I will quickly double check whilst he's roaming around the racetrack now then. And yes, it is. The 2018 Japanese Grand Prix was the last time he won a race in a championship capacity, of course. But the last time he won a race, of course, was the 2020 Indy 500. But anyway, here is Florian Volker now, then coming around the right-hander and then into Chapel Corner for the 36th and final time. And although the gap is down to 17.4 seconds, he did enough when he made his pit stop to re-overtake Thomas Anderson and have a big enough lead for when Anderson made his pit stop now then. As Volker now then comes around the right-hander for the 36th and final time here today. And well, it's a sight that we were used to a lot in the top class, but this will be the first time that in the World Champ Car that they get to see this, because Florian Volker is now coming around Vale Corner and Club for the 36th and final time. He just tippy-toes his way around the corner, and after a dominant drive from the 5-time champion, it is going to be Florian Volker who wins here at Silverstone. He takes his first ever World Champ Car win, and it's his first win in a championship capacity for 4 seasons. What a drive for Florian Volker!
Yeah, absolutely amazing stuff from the German 5-time top class champion. He's finally back on the top step. And yes, I'm so happy for him, but also someone who I'll be very happy about. Wait, as we see Gomez in third coming through. Is the guy coming? No, wait, this was Farina's food. No!
Farina's passed stop on the last lap, so Farina did grab the final points place after Manor. Cruel way to lose it. Cruel way to lose it for the Manor team. Thomas Anderson crossed the line in second. Gabriel Gomez is going to cross the line in third, and he is going to take the lead in the Drivers' Championship. As a result, we have a new championship leader in the series as the Penske's streak of leading the championship has come to an end. Gomez will take the lead in the championship as he finishes in third position. La Rosa fourth on the road, but I think he's going to drop to fifth because Daniel is under 10 seconds behind him. So Daniel, yes, he will do indeed. He'll cross the line, and yep, he will. So Daniel will get fourth. La Rosa drops into fifth position, but it will be fifth for La Rosa because Wolf is nowhere near them as a result. So Wolf will stay in sixth place. He won't gain a place as a result. Farina got the final points place ahead of Stop in the end. Such a shame for Stop, really. So close for points, yet so far. So Farina gets the final points place for Chip Ganassi. Stop in 11th. Felsbury in 12th position. Milevski in 13th for Manor. He crosses the line as we just wait for a couple of more cars to cross the line now. Then Wolf gets 6th place, so 8 points going the way to him there then, as Kratichville will cross the line 14th. I think Martinez has already crossed the line because he was behind Volker at the time, so P14 for him, and that is the race over then with Florian Volker, the race winner here at Silverstone. A dominant drive for him and his first victory in a championship capacity since the 2018 Japanese Grand Prix in the top class. So there's your final results. Florian Volker wins the race from Thomas Anderson in second. Gabriel Gomez is in third, with Francesco La Rosa, who did cross the line in fourth, but because of his penalty, Talebos Daniel will be in fourth. So Francesco La Rosa will drop to fifth, with Adam Wolf in sixth, Simon Mutka seventh, Lorenzo Tomaselli in eighth, Marek Patacek is in ninth, with Luca Farina on the last lap, completing the points in 10th, with Gillum Stop just missing out on points for Manor in 11th, and you can do the rest, Dennis.
Yeah, so gutting for Manor and for Stop, indeed. Gerald Forsberg finishes in 12th, with Dorian Milevski in 13th ahead of Yuri Kratochville. Rosetta Martinez, he will definitely want to forget about this race immediately. The 50 and the retirements are Alex Eric Lucien, Frederick Soper, Enes Boraczki, Yuri Gabriel, Julius Anderson, Zachary Fitzwater, and Luke Mason.
Indeed, a race to forget for the Penskes. Let's see who set the fastest lap of the race then. Who's going away with the bonus point? And it will be Thomas Anderson.
Close.
So along with it was very close in the end. So along with the 18 points that he'll get for second place, he'll also get the bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. And 19 points going away to Thomas Anderson. And as Dennis mentioned, 300 quicker than the eventual race winner, Florian Volker. Well, there you have it then, guys. That has been it from the World Champ Car meeting here at Silverstone. A very chaotic race in the rain, but a very exciting one nonetheless. And a very enjoyable one, you'd have to say, Dennis.
Yeah, it was a great race. Lots of action, also a lot of dramatic moments with the few crashes, and also the Penske's both failing to finish. Yeah, this definitely spiced up the championship a lot.
Has indeed, and we ended up with a new championship leader as a result. Well, there you have it then, guys. That has been it. Of course, we're not done with live streams just yet, because coming up at 7 p.m. BST, we of course have the Formula 2 qualifying session over at the Nürburgring for their European Grand Prix, their second voted race of the season. Of course, we've got top class action this week as well from the Hungaroring in Budapest for the Hungarian Grand Prix, and of course the GP4 OC News will return tomorrow as well before practice begins with its pilot episode, so do look forward to that. But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you enjoyed. The next World ChampCar race will of course be on in 2 weeks' time at the famous Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Stavelot, Belgium. Of course, Formula E will be on next week, which will be at the Motorland Aragon circuit, so do look forward to that. But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. So thank you all for watching. I've been JW97, he's been Dennis, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.